Frost and Fury. A paranormal romance audiobook. You're not worthy to stand beside an alpha, Marcus's voice cut through the ceremonial circle, cold and final. I, Marcus Blackwood, future alpha of the Silver Moon Pack, reject you, Aria Winters, as my mate. The mate bond shattered like ice, and I felt my wolf howl in agony as frost spread from my feet across the sacred ground. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Tonight, we begin Aria's journey, a story of rejection, awakening, and the discovery that sometimes the mate bond picks wrong, but destiny never does. 21 years she waited for this moment. 21 years believing Marcus Blackwood was her forever. Tonight, in front of the entire pack, that dream dies, and something far more powerful is born. Chapter 1, The Rejection starts. Now, the white ceremonial dress felt like a cage against my skin. I'd spent hours getting ready, my hands trembling as I'd pinned my dark hair back with silver clips blessed by the pack elders. 21. Finally 21. The age when the mate bond would snap into place, when I'd feel the full weight of the connection that had been building between Marcus and me since we were teenagers. Everyone knew we were mates. Everyone could see it, the way his eyes followed me across the training grounds, the way my wolf perked up whenever he was near. We'd just been waiting for this night, for the ceremony that would make it official. The full moon hung heavy overhead, casting silver light across the ceremonial grounds. Pack members formed a circle around us, their eyes gleaming with excitement. This was supposed to be a celebration. The future alpha claiming his mate. The beginning of our forever. Marcus stood across from me in the center of the circle, devastating in traditional ceremonial blacks, his sandy hair catching the moonlight. His amber eyes met mine and I felt my heart skip. This was it. This was everything I dreamed of. Alpha Blackwood, Marcus's father, stepped forward. His voice carried across the clearing with the weight of authority. Tonight, we witnessed the mate bond between my son, future alpha of the Silver Moon Pack, and Aria Winters. Let the moon bear witness to their union. I stepped forward, my bare feet soft against the cool grass. Marcus was supposed to step forward too, supposed to meet me in the middle. Instead he remained perfectly still. My wolf whimpered, sensing something wrong. Marcus. My voice came out smaller than I intended. He took a breath, his jaw tight. When he finally spoke, his voice carried none of the warmth I was used to. I can't do this. The circle went silent. Even the night sound seemed to stop. No crickets, no wind, nothing but the pounding of my own heart. What? I whispered. You're not strong enough. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. Your bloodline is minor. Your wolf is weak. The pack needs a Luna who can stand beside an alpha, who can defend our territory, who can produce strong heirs. Each word landed like a physical blow. I felt my knees weaken, felt my wolf curling in on herself, whimpering. But we're mates, I managed. The bond? The bond made a mistake. His eyes hardened, and I saw his father's hand on his shoulder, approving. I've discussed this with the council. With the elders. A future alpha needs more than what you can offer. Marcus, please? I hated how desperate I sounded, but I couldn't stop the words. We can work on my training. I can get stronger. I can. You can't change your blood, he interrupted. You can't change what you are. I'm sorry, Aria, but this pack comes first. My duty comes first. He squared his shoulders and I knew what was coming. No. Please no. I, Marcus Blackwood, future alpha of the Silver Moon Pack, reject you, Aria Winters, as my mate. The words hung in the air for a heartbeat. 2, 3. Then the bond snapped. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out something vital. I gasped, my legs giving out, my hands hitting the cold ground. My wolf howled, a sound of pure anguish that echoed through my mind, through my soul. The pain was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It wasn't just emotional. It was physical, spiritual, a tearing that left jagged edges inside me. And that's when I felt it. Cold. Spreading from my hands where they pressed against the earth. Frost creeping outward in crystalline patterns, delicate and deadly. The temperature around me dropped so suddenly that my breath came out in visible clouds. What the? Someone in the circle gasped. I looked down and watched in horror as ice spread from beneath my palms, racing across the ceremonial ground in spiderweb patterns. The grass crackled as it froze. The air around me shimmered with ice crystals that hadn't been there moments before. Marcus stepped back, his eyes wide. What is this? I didn't know. I had no idea what was happening. I just knew I needed to run. Needed to get away from the stares, from the whispers already starting, from Marcus's rejection still ringing in my ears. My wolf surged forward, desperate for escape. I didn't fight her. The shift came fast and painful, my ceremonial dress tearing as my body transformed. White fur burst through skin, my bones restructuring with cracks that echoed in the silent circle. I heard gasps, heard Alpha Blackwood shout something, but I was already moving. On 4 legs I ran. Behind me I heard Marcus call out, "Aria, wait!" But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. My wolf was in control now, driven by instinct and heartbreak, by the need to put distance between us and the pain. I ran through the packed grounds, past the houses where families were probably watching through windows, past the training grounds where Marcus had once promised me forever. I ran until the manicured paths gave way to wild forest, until the scent of the Silvermoon pack began to fade. I should have stopped at the border. Every wolf knew you didn't cross into another pack's territory without permission. It was asking for a fight, asking for death. But I couldn't stop. My wolf pushed harder, faster, the trees blurring around us. The full moon guided my path through unfamiliar woods. How long I ran I didn't know. Time lost meaning. There was only the rhythm of paws on earth, the burn in my lungs, the ache in my chest where the bond had been. Eventually, exhaustion won. I stumbled near a stream, my legs giving out. The shift back to human form was involuntary, leaving me naked and shivering on the bank. The ceremonial dress was gone, torn to shreds miles back. I curled into myself, my body shaking from cold and shock and grief. Above me, the moon, the same moon that was supposed to bless my mating ceremony, looked down with indifferent silver light. Not worthy. Marcus's words echoed in my mind. Not strong enough. The bond made a mistake. Hot tears tracked down my face, freezing before they hit the ground. I watched in numb fascination as tiny ice crystals formed where my tears fell, catching the moonlight like scattered diamonds. What was wrong with me? First the mate bond breaking, now ice? Magic like that hadn't been seen in the packs for generations. Most wolves had some minor gifts, enhanced senses, faster healing, but actual elemental magic? That belonged to the old stories, the ancient bloodlines that had died out centuries ago. My mother had been nobody special. My father had died when I was young. I was just Aria Winters, the girl with the minor bloodline, the weak wolf. A branch snapped nearby. I froze, suddenly very aware that I was naked, vulnerable, and deep in unknown territory. My wolf stirred, exhausted but alert. The scent hit me a second later, pine and winter storms and something wild and powerful that made my wolf whimper for an entirely different reason. Alpha. Not just any alpha. A true alpha with power that radiated like heat, making the air around him shimmer. He stepped out of the shadows and my breath caught. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell just past his collar and eyes that gleamed silver in the moonlight, not amber like most wolves but pure quicksilver. He wore dark jeans and a shirt that did nothing to hide the muscles beneath. He looked to be in his early 30s, his face too hard to be called handsome but striking in a way that made it impossible to look away. His eyes found me, and I watched them widen slightly as he took in my naked form, the tears on my cheeks, the frost still clinging to the ground around me. "You're a long way from home, little wolf," he said, his voice a deep rumble that sent shivers down my spine. "And you're in my territory." I scrambled to my feet, using my hands to cover myself as best I could. My wolf should have been cowering, should have been submitting to the alpha standing before me. Instead, she pushed forward, curious, drawn to him in a way that made no sense. "I'm sorry," I managed, my voice hoarse from crying. "I didn't mean to, I was just running and I—" "From Silvermoon territory," he observed, his nostrils flaring slightly as he scented me. "That's a long run. What were you running from?" The question was gentle, but I heard the steel beneath it. This was his land and I was a trespasser. He had every right to chase me off or worse. "Nothing," I lied. "I just needed to try again." He took a step closer, and I saw his eyes track to the frost patterns on the ground, to the ice crystals still floating lazily in the air around me. "And this time, don't insult my intelligence." Something in his tone, not cruel but commanding, made the truth spill out before I could stop it. He rejected me. The words tasted like ash. My mate. In front of the whole pack. He said I wasn't worthy, that I was too weak, that my bloodline wasn't good enough. I laughed, a broken sound. He said the bond made a mistake. The alpha's expression darkened. And the ice? I don't know. I looked down at my hands, at the frost still clinging to my fingertips. It just happened when the bond broke. I've never had any magic before. I don't understand what's happening to me. He was quiet for a long moment, studying me with those strange silver eyes. Then he did something that shocked me. He pulled off his shirt and held it out to me. Here. You're freezing. I stared at the offered shirt, then at him. He turned his back, giving me privacy to put it on. The simple gesture of respect made something in my chest crack wider. I pulled the shirt on quickly. It was huge on me, falling to mid-thigh, but it was warm and smelled like him, pine and storms and safety. Thank you, I whispered. He turned back around and I saw something like understanding in his eyes. What's your name? Aria. Aria Winters. Aria? He repeated like he was testing how it sounded. I'm Kael Stormwood, Alpha of the Frostpine Pack. And you're not going anywhere tonight. My wolf perked up at that, hopeful. I don't want to intrude. You're exhausted, heartbroken, and manifesting magic you don't understand. His tone left no room for argument. You'll stay at the pack house tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out what to do with you. Why would you help me? The question came out before I could stop it. You don't even know me. Kael's expression softened slightly, something that might have been old pain flickering across his features. Let's just say I know what it's like to have the mate bond betray you. And that ice magic of yours. He gestured to the frost still glittering around my feet. That's something we need to understand before you go back to Silvermoon. If you go back. The word hung in the air between us, full of possibility. I shouldn't trust him. I didn't know him. But my wolf was drawn to him in a way that defied logic, and right now I had nowhere else to go. Okay, I said quietly. Thank you, Alpha Kael. Just Kael. He started walking, expecting me to follow. And Aria? Whatever happened tonight, whatever your old pack thinks of you, they're wrong. The moon doesn't make mistakes with gifts like the one you're carrying. They just didn't know how to recognize power when they saw it. The words settled into my chest, a small warmth against the cold of rejection. I followed him through the forest, the frost melting in my wake as we walked deeper into frostpine territory. Behind us, miles away, I could imagine the chaos I'd left behind. Marcus probably explaining to his father, to the pack, to anyone who'd listen. Explaining why he'd rejected me, why he'd made the right choice, why I wasn't enough. But ahead of me, an alpha who didn't even know me had called me powerful. And in that moment, walking through moonlit woods with ice crystals dancing in the air around me, I felt something shift. Not the mate bond, that was gone, still aching like a phantom limb. Something else. Something that felt like possibility. Like maybe, just maybe, my story wasn't over. Maybe it was just beginning. As we walked, I noticed the forest was changing. The trees here were different, taller, older, with silver-white bark that seemed to glow in the moonlight. Frost clung naturally to the branches, making everything look like it had been dusted with diamonds. Your territory is beautiful, I said softly. Kael glanced back at me and I caught the hint of a smile. The Frostpine Pack has always had an affinity for winter. We thrive in the cold while other packs hibernate. It's why we've survived this long. How long? 3 centuries, give or take. He pushed aside a low-hanging branch, holding it so I could pass. We're one of the old packs. The ones that remember when magic wasn't so rare among our kind. My heart skipped. You've seen wolves with magic before? Seen them? We have several in our pack. He said it so casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Not elemental magic like yours, that's exceptionally rare. But gifts? Yes. We don't reject our gifted members. We train them. The contrast to Silvermoon Pack couldn't have been sharper. There, anything unusual was cause for suspicion, for fear. Being different meant being weak. We emerged from the forest into a clearing and I stopped, my breath catching. The Frostpine Pack house was nothing like Silvermoon's traditional lodge. This was a sprawling estate of stone and dark wood, with huge windows that caught and reflected the moonlight. It looked ancient and modern at once, powerful like it had grown from the forest itself. Wolves moved in the distance. Patrol, I realized. They spotted us immediately, their attention snapping to Kael and then to me. I felt their assessment, their curiosity about the stranger in their alpha's shirt. One of them, a woman with short red hair and a warrior's build, approached quickly. Her eyes were sharp, assessing. Alpha, she greeted Kael, then turned those sharp eyes on me. Found a stray? Found a gifted wolf in need of sanctuary, Kael corrected, his tone holding a note of gentle warning. Luna, this is Aria Winters. She'll be staying with us. Aria, this is Luna Ravencrest, my best warrior and border patrol lead. Luna's expression shifted from suspicion to interest. Gifted how? Before I could answer, my emotions surged. Embarrassment, exhaustion, fear, and the air around me suddenly crystallized. Snowflakes, tiny and perfect, began to fall in a small circle around where I stood. Just a few at first, then more, until I was standing in my own personal snow flurry. Luna's eyes went wide. Holy hell. Is that ice magic? Kael confirmed. Strong from what I've seen. And completely untrained. Where did you find her? She found herself near the southern stream. She's a refugee from Silvermoon. Luna's expression darkened. Let me guess. They didn't appreciate the gift. I flinched and the snowfall intensified. They didn't know about it. It only manifested tonight, when my mate rejected me in front of the whole pack. Your mate rejected you? Luna's voice dropped to something dangerous. What kind of idiot? She caught herself, glancing at Kael. Sorry, Alpha. But seriously? Marcus Blackwood, future Alpha of Silvermoon, I said quietly. He said I wasn't strong enough. That my bloodline was too minor. I looked down at the snow still falling around me. He didn't know about this. Neither did I. Luna let out a low whistle. So he rejected you and then you manifested rare elemental magic? That's actually hilarious. In a tragic sort of way. She looked at Kael. Can we keep her? Please tell me we can keep her. Despite everything, I felt my lips twitch at her enthusiasm. That's up to Aria, Kael said. But for tonight she needs food, rest, and probably a phone call to her pack to let them know she's alive and safe. My stomach twisted at the thought of calling Silvermoon. Do I have to? You do if you don't want to start a territory war, Kael said gently. Your Alpha will need to know you're alive and under my protection. Otherwise, he might think we took you against your will. He was right, of course. As much as I hated it, I couldn't just disappear. That wasn't how pack politics worked. I'll call, I said quietly. But not tonight. Please. I can't face them tonight. Kael studied me for a moment, then nodded. Tomorrow morning. That's reasonable. Luna, can you? Already on it. Luna gestured for me to follow. Come on, let's get you settled. We've got a guest room that should work. And I'll raid my closet for clothes, we're about the same size. As Luna led me toward the pack house, I glanced back at Kael. He stood in the moonlight watching us go, his expression thoughtful. When our eyes met, he nodded once, a gesture of reassurance that shouldn't have meant as much as it did. Inside, the pack house was warm and lived in, nothing like the formal coldness of Silvermoon's lodge. Pack members moved through common areas, some human, some in wolf form. A few looked up with curiosity as Luna led me through, but none with the judgment I'd expected. Here, Luna opened a door to a modest but comfortable room. Private bathroom through there. I'll bring you some clothes. You hungry? My stomach answered for me with a loud growl and Luna laughed. I'll take that as a yes. Give me 5 minutes. She disappeared, leaving me alone in the quiet room. I sank onto the bed, my legs finally giving out completely. The events of the night crashed over me all at once. Marcus's rejection, the bond breaking, the ice magic, the run through unknown territory, Kael finding me. Just hours ago, I'd been in a white ceremonial dress, thinking I was about to begin my forever with Marcus. Now I was in a strange pack, wearing an Alpha shirt, with magic I didn't understand literally freezing the air around me. The snowflakes were still falling, I realized. Tiny, delicate, and apparently tied to my emotions because they showed no sign of stopping. I held out my hand, watched them land on my palm without melting. They glittered like tiny diamonds, impossibly intricate. Beautiful. Marcus had called me weak. Had said I wasn't enough. But I was making it snow indoors. Without trying. Without training. Maybe, just maybe, I was stronger than any of us had known. Luna returned with clothes, soft leggings, a warm sweater, and a plate loaded with food. She sat with me while I ate, not asking questions, just providing comfortable silence and the occasional dry comment about pack politics that made me smile despite myself. When I finally crawled into bed hours later, exhausted beyond measure, I expected nightmares. Expected to wake up sobbing, feeling the bond's absence like an open wound. Instead, I dreamed of ice and snowflakes, of a silver-eyed Alpha who'd called me powerful, and of a future that might not be what I'd planned but could be something so much more. The last thing I saw before sleep claimed me was frost spreading across my window in beautiful, intricate patterns, like the moon herself was painting promises on the glass. Tomorrow I'd have to face Silvermoon, face Marcus, face the consequences of running. But tonight, for the first time in hours, I felt something other than pain. I felt hope. And outside my window in the moonlit forest, wolves howled, not in mourning but in welcome. Chapter 2. You need to come home, Aria. Now. Alpha Blackwood's voice crackled through the phone speaker, harsh and commanding. Whatever happened last night doesn't give you permission to abandon your pack. I looked at Kael standing beside me, his silver eyes steady and reassuring, then at the frost spreading unconsciously from my fingertips across his desk. I'm not coming back, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The line went silent. Then, you don't get to make that choice. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. In the last chapter, Aria's world shattered when Marcus rejected her in front of the entire Silver Moon pack. But as one door slammed shut, another opened, an alpha with silver eyes, a sanctuary called Frost Pine, and ice magic awakening in her veins. Today, Aria must face her old pack, confront the consequences of running, and discover that her awakening power is only the beginning of secrets that have been buried for far too long. Chapter 2. The call starts now. I woke to sunlight streaming through frost-covered windows and the smell of coffee drifting under my door. For one blissful moment, I didn't remember where I was or why. Then it all came rushing back. Marcus, the rejection, the ice, Kael. I sat up slowly, my body aching from the long run and the emotional trauma. The room was cold, unnaturally so, and when I looked down I saw why. Frost had spread across the entire floor during the night, delicate patterns covering every surface like someone had painted them in ice. Oh no, I whispered. A soft knock on the door made me jump. Aria? You awake? Luna's voice, cheerful and completely unconcerned. Yes, but I think I froze your floor. Our floor, she corrected, pushing the door open. She looked down at the frost, then at me and grinned. That's actually really beautiful. Can you do patterns on purpose or is it just emotional overflow? I don't know. I can't control it. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold despite the warm sweater. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Hey. Luna crossed the room, careful not to slip on the ice, and sat on the edge of my bed. Nobody's mad. You've got a gift that just woke up. Of course you can't control it yet. That's what training is for. Training? Yeah. Kael's already making calls. We've got a few pack members with gifts and there's someone else he wants to bring in. Someone who might actually know about ice magic specifically. She handed me a steaming mug of coffee. But first, you need to eat and then you need to make that call to Silvermoon. My stomach dropped. Do I have to? Unfortunately, yeah. Pack law is pretty clear. You ran across territory borders without permission. If Kael doesn't notify your alpha that you're here and safe, it could be considered an act of aggression. Territory disputes have started over less. She was right. I knew she was right. But the thought of hearing Marcus's voice, of hearing Alpha Blackwood's disappointment, made me want to crawl back under the covers and never come out. Will Kael be there? When I call. He insisted on it. Said you shouldn't have to face them alone. Luna's expression softened. He's a good alpha, Aria. Best I've ever served. Whatever you decide about staying or going, you can trust him to have your back. After I'd showered and dressed in more of Luna's borrowed clothes, she led me downstairs. The pack house was alive with activity, wolves moving through common spaces, heading out for patrol or coming back from runs. Several stopped to look at me with open curiosity, but again, no judgment. Just interest. Kael was in his office, a large room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the forest. He looked up when we entered, and something in my chest tightened at the sight of him. In daylight, he was even more striking. Dark hair slightly mussed, strong jaw shadowed with stubble, those impossible silver eyes that seemed to see right through me. Aria, how did you sleep? I frosted over the entire guest room, I admitted. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Did you feel better when you woke up? He interrupted gently. I paused, considering. Actually, yes. The nightmares weren't as bad as I expected. Then the frost did its job. Your magic is trying to protect you, process your emotions. There's nothing to apologize for. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Ready to make this call? No. But I guess that doesn't matter. It matters. Kael sat down, his expression serious. You don't have to do this if you're not ready. I can call Alpha Blackwood myself, explain the situation. You have rights here, Aria. You're not his property. The words settled into my chest, warm against the cold that had taken up residence there. In Silvermoon no one had ever talked about my rights. Just my duties, my place, what I owed the pack. I should do it, I said quietly. I should face him myself. Kael studied me for a moment, then nodded. He pulled out his phone and dialed, putting it on speaker. The line rang once. Twice. Then Alpha Blackwood's voice filled the room, hard and angry. Alpha Stormwood. I hope you're calling to tell me you found my missing pack member. Alpha Blackwood, Kael's voice was calm, measured. I'm calling to inform you that Aria Winters crossed into my territory last night and has requested sanctuary. She's safe, unharmed, and under my protection. Silence. Then, sanctuary? On what grounds? On the grounds that she experienced a traumatic rejection and needed space to process. Also on the grounds that she manifested a rare gift and needs proper training, which I'm prepared to provide. A gift? Alpha Blackwood's voice sharpened. What kind of gift? I looked at Kael, who nodded encouragingly. I leaned toward the phone, my hands trembling. It's me, Alpha. I can manipulate ice. Frost, snow, cold. It manifested last night when, I couldn't say it. Couldn't say when your son rejected me. When the bond broke, Kael finished smoothly. Strong emotional trauma can trigger dormant gifts. You know this. Ice magic hasn't been seen in generations, Alpha Blackwood said slowly. If this is true. It's true, I interrupted, suddenly angry. You can ask anyone who was there. The frost spread across the ceremonial ground. They all saw it. Another pause. Then a new voice came on the line and my heart clenched painfully. Aria? Marcus. He sounded shaken, uncertain. Is it really true? You have ice magic. Yes. My voice came out cold, matching the temperature dropping around me. Frost began to spread across Kael's desk. That's incredible. Aria, if we'd known? If you'd known what? I couldn't stop the words. You would have accepted me? Decided I was worthy after all? It doesn't work that way, Marcus. You rejected me. You said I was weak, that the bond made a mistake. You can't take that back just because I turned out to be useful. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? The frost on the desk was creeping toward the phone now, ice crystals forming in the air. Did you mean you're sorry? That you were wrong? That you wish you could have a do-over? Aria, please. Can we talk about this? In person? I need to explain. No. The word came out with a blast of cold air that made even Kael glance at me with surprise. You don't get to explain. You don't get to make this better. You had your chance to choose me and you chose politics and bloodlines and what other people thought instead. Alpha Blackwood's voice cut through hard. Aria Winters, I understand you're upset, but you are still a member of the Silver Moon Pack. You have responsibilities here. People who care about you. You can't just run away because your feelings are hurt. Something inside me snapped. My feelings are hurt? I stood up, my hands slamming down on Kael's desk. The frost spread faster now, racing across the wood, climbing up the walls. Your son ripped our mate bond apart in front of everyone I've ever known. He said I wasn't good enough. That I was weak. That I wasn't worthy to stand beside him. And when it broke, when I felt like something vital had been torn out of my chest, the only thing anyone saw was the ice. Not my pain. Not my heartbreak. Just the magic that made me suddenly interesting. Aria, Marcus tried again. I'm not finished. The windows were frosting over now, beautiful patterns spreading across the glass. All my life I've tried to be what you wanted. What the pack wanted. I trained harder than anyone. I volunteered for every duty. I made myself small and quiet and convenient. And it still wasn't enough. So you know what? I'm done. I'm done trying to be worthy of a pack that never valued me in the first place. The silence on the other end of the line was absolute. Kael's hand touched my shoulder, gentle and grounding. Aria, he said softly, breathe. I did, pulling in a shaky breath. The frost stopped spreading, though it didn't recede. Alpha Blackwood's voice came back, colder now. You need to come home, Aria. No. Whatever happened last night doesn't give you permission to abandon your pack. I looked at Kael, at those steady silver eyes that held nothing but support. Then I looked at the frost covering his office, at the physical manifestation of power I'd never known I had. I'm not coming back, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You don't get to make that choice. Actually, she does. Kael's voice was quiet but carried the weight of absolute authority. Pack law is clear on this. Any wolf who manifests a rare or dangerous gift has the right to seek sanctuary with a pack that can properly train them. Aria has that gift and she's requested my protection. Unless you're prepared to argue that Silver Moon can provide better training in ice magic, a gift that hasn't been seen in your pack for generations, then she has every right to stay. This is politics, Alpha Blackwood said flatly. You're trying to steal a gifted wolf from my pack. I'm trying to protect a traumatized young woman who ran blindly across my borders and collapsed by a stream, crying and afraid. If you want to talk politics, Alpha, Let's talk about how your son's public rejection of his mate reflects on your pack's stability. Let's talk about how you handled a rare manifestation of power, by trying to force her back instead of supporting her choice to seek proper training. Alpha Blackwood was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was carefully controlled. How long? That's up to Aria, Kael said. She can stay as long as she needs. A week. A month. Forever if she chooses. I want to talk to her. In person. Just her and me, no politics, no pack dynamics. She deserves that much. I started to say no, but Kael caught my eye and nodded slightly. It wasn't a command, just a suggestion. He was leaving it up to me. Fine, I said eventually. But not in Silvermoon territory. Neutral ground. There's a clearing at the boundary between our territories, Kael offered. I'll escort Aria there. You can bring whoever you want, but the meeting happens in that clearing, and Aria can leave whenever she chooses. Agreed. Tomorrow. Noon. Alpha Blackwood paused. And Aria? Your mother is worried sick. Whatever else is happening, please let her know you're all right. The mention of my mother sent a pang through my chest. In everything that had happened, I'd barely thought about her. I will. I'll call her after this. Tomorrow then. The line clicked off. I stood there, staring at the phone, at the frost covering everything, at my hands still trembling with leftover adrenaline and power. I can't believe I just did that, I whispered. I can. Luna spoke from the doorway where she'd been listening. That was incredible. Terrifying but incredible. You literally told them off while freezing the office. Very dramatic. I approve. Despite everything, I felt my lips twitch. Then I looked at Kael's desk, at his office, at the damage I'd done. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Stop apologizing, Kael said firmly. He stood, walking around the desk to face me. You had every right to be angry. Everything you said to them was justified. And the frost. He gestured to the patterns on the walls, the ice crystals still hanging in the air. It's beautiful. You're beautiful when you're powerful, Aria. Don't apologize for that. The words hit me harder than they should have. Beautiful when you're powerful. Marcus had never said anything like that. He'd wanted me soft, agreeable, weak enough not to challenge him. I don't know how to control it, I admitted quietly. That's what training is for. Kael smiled slightly. And speaking of which, I have someone I'd like you to meet. She should be arriving this afternoon. Who? Someone with answers about your magic. Someone who's been waiting a very long time to meet you. He glanced at Luna. Can you help Aria get settled? Show her the training grounds, introduce her to the other gifted wolves. On it, Alpha. Luna grabbed my arm. Come on, Winters. Let's go meet the weirdos. You're going to fit right in. As she dragged me out of the office, I glanced back at Kael. He was already on his phone, making calls, handling pack business. But he caught my look and nodded once. That same gesture of reassurance from the night before. I was safe here. Protected. Valued. It was such a foreign feeling I almost didn't recognize it. The training grounds were massive. A cleared area behind the pack house with various stations set up for different types of combat and skill practice. Luna led me through, pointing out different areas. That's where we do basic fighting drills. Over there is the obstacle course. Torture but effective. And that, she pointed to a circle of ancient stones, is where we train gifted wolves. The stones are old magic, help contain and focus power so nobody accidentally sets the forest on fire. Has that happened? Twice. We had a fire manipulator last year who got excited during a full moon. Hence the containment stones. She introduced me to the other gifted wolves. A young man named Finn who could manipulate shadows, a woman named Kara who had minor healing abilities, and a massive guy named Ridge who could sense emotions. Ridge took one look at me and whistled low. You're broadcasting pain and anger like a beacon. And underneath, hope? That's new for you, isn't it? Is it that obvious? To me? Yeah. To everyone else? They just know something intense happened. He studied me with kind eyes. It gets easier. The emotions, they settle. When? When you stop fighting them. When you let yourself feel what you need to feel instead of pushing it down. He glanced at the frost forming around my feet. Your magic is tied to your emotions, isn't it? I nodded. Then you need to feel everything. The pain, the anger, the hope, all of it. Otherwise, you're just going to keep freezing things unconsciously. It made sense, but the thought of actually feeling everything, of not holding back, was terrifying. We trained for hours. Luna ran me through basic combat drills, testing my reflexes and strength. I was better than I'd thought, better than Marcus and his pack had given me credit for. Every time Luna praised a good move, every time the others cheered me on, I felt something inside me shifting. I'd spent so long believing I was weak, believing I needed to earn my place. But here they just accepted me, welcomed me, valued me not for what I could become but for what I already was. Around midday, Kael appeared at the edge of the training grounds. Aria. She's here. My heart kicked up. The mysterious someone with answers. I followed Kael back to the pack house, Luna trailing behind us. We walked to a private sitting room, and when Kael opened the door, my breath caught. An elderly woman sat in a high-backed chair, her silver hair pulled back in an elegant braid, her eyes, the same ice blue as mine, fixed on me with an intensity that made my wolf sit up and take notice. She wore simple but elegant clothes, and power radiated from her like heat from a fire. Aria, Kael said quietly, I'd like you to meet Aria Winters. Your grandmother. My grandmother. My grandmother who had died when I was 5 years old. Who I barely remembered. Who shouldn't be sitting in this room looking very much alive. That's impossible, I whispered. You're dead. You died years ago. The woman, Aria, smiled sadly. I let them believe that. I had to, Little Moon. To keep you safe. Little Moon. The nickname hit me like a physical blow. My mother used to say her mother had called her that, had called me that the few times we met before she died. I don't understand. I know. And I have so much to explain. Aria stood, moving with a grace that belied her apparent age. But first show me. Show me your gift. I looked at Kael, who nodded encouragingly. Then I held out my hand and focused on the cold inside me, on the power that had been surging and ebbing since last night. Frost spread from my palm, delicate and crystalline. Then snowflakes falling in a perfect circle around us. The temperature dropped, and I watched ice form in beautiful patterns across the floor. Alaria's eyes filled with tears. Oh, my dear child. You have it. You have the winter blessing. The what? The winter blessing. The gift of our bloodline. She reached out, touching one of the snowflakes, and I watched it pulse with light. We are descended from the moon which line, Aria. Ancient and powerful. Once we ruled winter itself. Now there are so few of us left, scattered and hiding because our gift was feared, hunted. My mind was reeling. Moon witch? That's just a legend. Old stories. All legends start with truth. Aria moved closer, taking my hands. Your mother was too young when I had to disappear. She never manifested the gift, so she never knew the truth. But you, my darling girl, you have it in full. You are the first in 3 generations to manifest winter magic this strongly. Why did you let everyone think you were dead? Because the council was looking for us. The Wolf Council that governs all packs. They've been hunting magical bloodlines for centuries, trying to control or eliminate them. When they discovered what I had to disappear to protect your mother, to protect you. I've been hiding ever since, watching from a distance, waiting. Waiting for what? For you to manifest. For the winter to wake in your blood. And now it has. She squeezed my hands. Now I can teach you everything you need to know. How to control it. How to wield it. How to protect yourself from those who will want to use your power or destroy it. I pulled my hands back, overwhelmed. This is too much. Yesterday I was just Aria, the weak wolf with the minor bloodline. Today I'm descended from moon witches and have magic that shouldn't exist, and my dead grandmother is alive and the council is hunting people like me? I know it's a lot. A lot. I laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. It's insane. This whole thing is insane. Kael stepped forward, his presence steady. Aria. Breathe. I looked at him, at those silver eyes that had become an anchor in less than 24 hours, and I breathed. You don't have to process this all at once, he said gently. Aria can stay here, train you at whatever pace you need. The council isn't going to show up overnight. You have time. Do I? Because it feels like everything is moving so fast and I'm just trying to keep up. Then we slowed down. He looked at Aria. Right? Of course. My grandmother, I still couldn't quite believe it, smiled softly. We'll take this one step at a time. First, the basics. Learning to control when and where your magic manifests. Then we'll work on intent, on shaping it. Eventually, you'll be able to do things you can't even imagine right now. Like what? Like creating blizzards with a thought. Like freezing living beings. Like channeling winter itself. She paused. But that comes later. For now, let's just focus on making sure you don't accidentally freeze the pack house in your sleep. Despite my overwhelm, I smiled at that. We spent the next few hours in the training circle, with Aria guiding me through basic exercises. How to feel the magic in my core. How to call it up deliberately instead of waiting for emotions to trigger it. How to let it flow without fighting it. It was exhausting mentally and physically. But by the time the sun started setting, I could create a small snowfall on command and frost a specific area without covering everything in sight. Progress, Ilara said approvingly. You're a natural little moon. Your control will come faster than you think. That night, I sat with Luna and some of the other pack members in the common room. They asked questions about Silvermoon, about my life before, and I found myself talking more openly than I ever had. Here, nobody cared about my bloodline or my place in the hierarchy. They just cared about me. When I finally retreated to my room, exhausted, I found Kael waiting in the hallway. How are you holding up? He asked. I don't know. Ask me tomorrow, after I meet with Alpha Blackwood and figure out what the hell I'm going to say. You'll know what to say when the time comes. He hesitated, then added, for what it's worth, I think you're handling this better than most would. Your whole world turned upside down in less than 2 days and you're still standing. Still fighting. That takes strength. I don't feel strong. You froze my office while telling off your old pack and standing up for yourself. You manifested rare magic while your heart was breaking. You crossed into unknown territory and trusted a stranger to help you. You spent all day training even though you're exhausted and overwhelmed. He stepped closer. Aria, you're one of the strongest wolves I've ever met. You just don't see it yet. The words wrapped around me, warm against the cold that had taken up residence in my chest. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe I was strong, that I could handle this, that I was more than what Marcus had said. Why are you helping me? I asked quietly. You don't know me. You have no reason to protect me or train me or give me sanctuary. Why? Kael's expression shifted, something painful flickering across his features. Because I know what it's like to lose everything to the mate bond. To have it break you in ways you never expected. And I know what it's like to be told you're not enough. He met my eyes. Someone helped me when I was at my lowest. Now I'm helping you. That's how it works. What happened to you? If you don't mind me asking. My mate bond? It didn't work out the way it was supposed to. My parents both died because of it, because true mate bonds, when one dies the other follows. They were true mates, and when my mother got sick, my father couldn't survive losing her. They died within hours of each other. His voice was carefully neutral, but I could hear the old pain underneath. I swore I'd never let the bond control me like that. Never put that kind of power in anyone's hands. But you still want it? A mate. I want partnership. Choice. Something built on more than just the moon's matchmaking. He smiled slightly. Which is why I understand why you're not rushing back to Marcus, even if he realized he made a mistake. The mention of Marcus sent a pang through me. Do you think he did? Realize he made a mistake? Honestly? Yes. But that doesn't mean you owe him forgiveness. It doesn't mean the bond can be repaired or should be. What he did to you, Aria, rejecting you publicly, calling you weak, that can't be undone with apologies. I knew he was right. But part of me, a small traitorous part, wondered what it would be like if Marcus wanted me back. If he saw my power and decided I was worthy after all. Then I looked at Kael, at the man who'd given me sanctuary without hesitation, who'd stood beside me during the phone call, who'd called me beautiful when I was powerful, and I realized I didn't want Marcus's approval anymore. I wanted to be somewhere I was valued for who I was, not what I could do. Somewhere I could be strong without apologizing for it. Somewhere like this. Thank you, I said softly. For everything. You're welcome. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be intense. As I settled into bed that night, the frost patterns spreading naturally across my windows, I thought about everything that had changed. 2 days ago, I'd been preparing for my mating ceremony, believing I knew exactly what my future held. Now, I was descended from moon witches, training with my supposedly dead grandmother, living in a strange pack, and preparing to face the alpha who'd allowed his son to break my heart. I should have been terrified. Should have been overwhelmed. Instead, as I drifted off to sleep with snowflakes dancing above my bed, I felt something I hadn't felt in Silvermoon for a long time. I felt like I belonged. And tomorrow, when I faced Alpha Blackwood and Marcus, I'd show them exactly what they'd lost when they called me weak. Winter was waking in my blood. And I was done apologizing for the cold. Chapter 3. You look different, Marcus said, his amber eyes scanning me like he was seeing me for the first time. Stronger. I am stronger. I let the frost spread from my feet, watched his expression shift from wonder to regret. But not because of you. Despite you. Behind me, Kael's presence was steady and reassuring. Across from me, Marcus reached out like he wanted to touch me, to bridge the gap he'd created. I let ice form between us, a barrier beautiful and absolute. "Don't," I said softly. "You don't get to touch me anymore. Welcome back to Frost and Fury." Aria stood up to her old pack, discovered her grandmother is alive and descended from ancient moon witches, and began to understand the power flowing through her veins. But now comes the hardest test yet, facing Marcus and Alpha Blackwood on neutral ground, with her new power and her new pack at her back. Today, Aria will discover that showing strength is one thing. Choosing what to do with it is something else entirely. Chapter 3: The confrontation starts. Now. The morning of the meeting, I woke before dawn, my stomach twisted in knots. The frost on my windows was thicker than usual, jagged patterns that reflected my anxiety. I'd barely slept, mind racing with everything I wanted to say to Alpha Blackwood, to Marcus, to everyone who'd ever made me feel small. Aria was already in the training circle when I went outside, the pre-dawn light painting everything in shades of blue and silver. "Couldn't sleep either?" I asked. "I wanted to give you something before you faced them." She held out her hand and I watched ice form in her palm, not chaotic like mine but perfectly controlled. It shaped itself into a delicate snowflake pendant on a silver chain. This was my mother's and her mother's before that. It's been in our bloodline for generations. The snowflake glittered in the dim light, each branch perfectly symmetrical, impossibly intricate. When Aria placed it in my hand, I felt a pulse of power, old magic, ancient and strong. "It won't make you more powerful," Aria said as she fastened it around my neck. "But it will remind you of who you are, or where you come from. When you stand before them today, remember, you are not the weak wolf they thought you were. You are descended from witches who commanded winter itself. You carry magic in your blood that they can't begin to understand. And most importantly, little moon, you survived their rejection and became stronger for it." I touched the pendant, feeling it cool against my skin. What if I freeze them all by accident? What if I lose control? Then you lose control. And we deal with it. Alara's smile was fierce. "But I don't think you will. I think you're going to stand there beautiful and powerful and completely in command of yourself, and they're going to realize exactly what they lost." "I hope you're right." "I know I'm right. Now come, let's practice one more time. Show me your ice barrier." We spent the next hour drilling control exercises. Aria was a patient but demanding teacher, pushing me to hold my power steady even when she deliberately tried to provoke emotional reactions. By the time the sun fully rose, I could create and dismiss ice at will, could hold a barrier even when she was shouting at me to break concentration. "Good," she said finally. "Very good. Remember, power isn't about the biggest display. It's about control. About choosing when and how to show what you can do." Back at the pack house, Luna helped me pick clothes for the meeting. She'd found a pair of dark jeans that actually fit and a deep blue sweater that brought out my eyes. "You look like an ice queen," Luna said approvingly. "Beautiful but untouchable." "It's perfect." Kael was waiting downstairs, dressed in blacks that made him look even more imposing than usual. When he saw me, something flashed in his silver eyes. Approval, maybe, or admiration. "Ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be." The drive to the border was quiet. Kael drove with Luna in the front seat, me in the back with Aria. As we got closer to Silvermoon territory, I felt my anxiety spike. The frost on the car windows thickened. "Breathe," Aria reminded me gently. "You're in control." The clearing at the border was exactly that. A large open space with ancient trees marking the boundary between Frostpine and Silvermoon territories. Alpha Blackwood was already there with Marcus and 3 other pack members I recognized. Council witnesses, probably, to make sure everything was done properly. My mother stood slightly apart from the group, her face anxious. When she saw me step out of Kael's truck, her expression crumbled with relief. "Aria," she breathed. I wanted to run to her, to let her hug me and tell me everything would be okay like she had when I was a child. But I forced myself to walk slowly, deliberately, with Kael on one side and Aria on the other. My mother's eyes went wide when she saw Aria. "That's impossible. You're alive." "Yes." Alara's voice was gentle but firm. "We'll talk later, daughter. Right now, Aria needs to do this." Alpha Blackwood stepped forward, his expression carefully neutral. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered like his son, with silver threading through his dark hair and the kind of presence that commanded attention. But today, standing across from Kael, he looked smaller somehow. Less certain. "Aria, thank you for coming." His eyes flicked to Aria, confusion clear, but he didn't comment. "I think we owe you an apology." "You think?" The words came out colder than I intended, and I watched frost spread from my feet across the grass. We do. We owe you an apology. Alpha Blackwood's expression softened. What happened at your ceremony was poorly handled. Marcus made a choice in the heat of the moment, under pressure from the council, and I should have stopped it. Should have given you both time to process before making any declarations. You're right. You should have. I met his eyes steadily. But you didn't. You stood there and watched your son reject me in front of everyone. You heard him say I wasn't worthy, that I was weak, that my bloodline wasn't good enough. And you did nothing. I was wrong. The admission seemed to cost him. I put politics over compassion. Put tradition over common sense. You deserved better from your alpha. The apology should have felt good. Should have felt like vindication. Instead, it just made me tired. Is that why you called this meeting? To apologize? Partly. He glanced at Marcus, who'd been silent until now. But mostly because Marcus has something he needs to say to you. And because we need to discuss what happens next with your gift. My gift. I let ice crystals form in the air around me, watched them catch the sunlight. You mean the magic that manifested when your son ripped our mate bond apart? The power that you would have never known about if he'd accepted me? That gift. Aria, please. Marcus finally spoke, stepping forward. He looked rough, dark circles under his eyes, his usual confidence shaken. Can we talk? Just us. I looked at Kael, who nodded slightly. It was my choice. Fine. But they stay within sight. I gestured to both packs. And if I want to leave, I leave. No arguments. Agreed. Marcus and I walked a short distance away, far enough for privacy but close enough that both alphas could intervene if needed. Up close, I could see how much the last 2 days had affected him. He looked like he hadn't slept, hadn't eaten properly. A small, petty part of me was glad. You look different, he said finally, his amber eyes scanning me like he was seeing me for the first time. Stronger. I'm stronger. But not because of you. Despite you. He flinched. I deserve that. You deserve worse. I let the frost spread from my feet, watched his expression shift from wonder to regret as ice crept toward him. You stood in that ceremonial circle and told me I wasn't enough. You looked at me, your mate, the person the moon chose for you, and decided politics was more important. That bloodlines and council approval and what other people thought mattered more than what we had. I know. Aria, I know. And I've been hating myself for it every second since. He reached out like he wanted to touch me to bridge the gap he'd created. I let ice form between us, a barrier translucent and beautiful and absolute. Don't, I said softly. You don't get to touch me anymore. His hand dropped. I was wrong. About everything. About you being weak, about your bloodline, about what the pack needs. When I saw the ice, when I realized what you could do. That's the problem, Marcus. I interrupted. You only realized you were wrong when you saw I had power. When I became useful. If the magic hadn't manifested, you'd still think you made the right choice. You'd still believe I wasn't worthy. That's not true. Isn't it? I stepped closer to the ice barrier between us. Tell me honestly. If I came to you right now with no magic, just me, just Aria, would you want me back? Or is it the ice which you're interested in? He opened his mouth, closed it. The hesitation told me everything I needed to know. I thought so. I turned to walk away. Wait. His voice cracked. Aria, please. I know I can't take back what I did. I know the rejection hurt you in ways I can't even imagine. But we're mates. The bond chose us for a reason. Maybe we can find our way back to each other. Maybe we can rebuild what I broke. I looked back at him, at the boy I'd loved since I was 15, the future alpha I'd built my dreams around. And I felt nothing. No anger, no longing, no hope. Just a quiet, final certainty. The bond chose wrong, I said quietly. Or maybe it chose right and you failed the test. Either way, Marcus, we're done. The rejection stands. Whatever we might have had, it's gone. You made sure of that. You can't mean that. I do. I touched the snowflake pendant at my throat, felt its power pulse against my skin. I'm not the girl you rejected anymore. I'm not weak or convenient or willing to make myself small to fit into your pack's expectations. I'm discovering who I really am, what I'm really capable of. And honestly, I don't think there's room for you in that future. What about us? What about everything we planned together? Those were my plans, Marcus. My dreams. You made it clear they weren't yours. I dismissed the ice barrier, let it melt away. I don't hate you. I probably should, but I don't. I'm done. With you, with Silver Moon, with trying to be worthy of people who can't see my value. And that Alpha Kael? Is he part of your new future? The question took me by surprise. What? I saw how he looks at you. How you look at him. Marcus's expression hardened. Is this about him? Did you find a new mate already? This isn't about anyone but me. I let the cold seep into my voice. You don't get to reject me and then be jealous when someone else treats me with basic respect. Kael gave me sanctuary when I needed it. He's training me, protecting me, helping me understand my gift. That's it. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't entirely true. Kael was more than just an alpha offering sanctuary. He was becoming something else, something I wasn't ready to examine too closely. I don't believe you. I don't care what you believe. I started walking back toward where the others waited. We're done here, Marcus. Go back to your pack, find a mate the council approves of, and forget about me. I can't forget about you. You're my mate. No. I stopped, looked back one last time. I was your mate. Past tense. You rejected me, remember? Publicly, permanently, in front of everyone who matters. That can't be undone. And even if it could, I wouldn't want it to be. I left him standing there and walked back to Kael's side. The Alpha watched me approach, his silver eyes searching. You okay? He asked quietly. Actually, yes. I am. Alpha Blackwood cleared his throat. So, have you two resolved things? There's nothing to resolve, I said clearly. The rejection stands. I won't be returning to Silvermoon Pack. Aria, please, my mother said, tears in her eyes. Don't make any permanent decisions right now. You're upset, you're processing trauma. Come home just for a little while. Let's talk about this properly. Mom? I went to her, took her hands. I love you. But Silvermoon isn't my home anymore. It hasn't been for a while, I just didn't want to see it. I need to be somewhere I can grow, somewhere I can train, somewhere I'm valued for who I am. And you think that's Frostpine? Alpha Blackwood asked. With strangers? I think that's anywhere but here, I said honestly. But yes, Frostpine has offered me sanctuary and training that Silvermoon can't provide. Kael has agreed to mentor me. Alara, my grandmother, who apparently isn't dead, is going to teach me about my magic. And the pack there has accepted me without question or judgment. Your grandmother. Alpha Blackwood looked at Alara with narrowed eyes. You faked your death. Why? To protect my family from the council's hunters, Alara said calmly. The same council that you're likely in contact with, Alpha. The same council that's been systematically hunting and eliminating magical bloodlines for centuries. So yes, I faked my death and went into hiding. And now I'm here to ensure my granddaughter doesn't suffer the same fate. The council doesn't hunt anyone without cause. Without cause. Alara's laugh was sharp. They fear power they can't control. Always have. Any wolf who manifests strong magic becomes a target. Either they're recruited as weapons or eliminated as threats. Is that really the system you want to hand Aria over to? Silence fell over the clearing. Alpha Blackwood's expression was troubled, and I saw recognition there. He knew she was right. What do you want? He asked finally, looking at me. Long term. Do you want to transfer packs permanently? Do you want to be released from Silvermoon altogether? The question hung in the air. It was what I'd been avoiding thinking about, the permanent nature of what I was choosing. I want time, I said slowly. Time to train, to understand my gift, to figure out who I am without the pressure of pack politics or mate expectations. I want to stay with Frostpine for now, under Kael's protection. If that becomes permanent. I glanced at Kael, who nodded slightly. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And if the council comes asking questions? Then we handle it, Kael said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. Aria is under my protection. Anyone who wants to take her will have to go through me first. Alpha Blackwood studied us both, then sighed. Very well. I'll inform the council that you're training with Frostpine temporarily. That should buy us some time. He looked at me and his expression softened. Aria, I truly am sorry. For how this was handled, for not protecting you the way I should have. You deserved better from all of us. Yes, I did. I held his gaze. But I'm okay now. Or I will be. He nodded, then turned to Marcus, who'd been standing apart, looking lost. Come on, son. We should head back. Wait. Marcus stepped forward, his expression desperate. Aria, just tell me one thing. Is there any chance? Any possibility that someday we might? No. The word was gentle but final. I'm sorry, Marcus, but no. What you broke can't be fixed. Move on. Find someone who fits what you need. Be happy. How can I be happy without you? That's not my problem anymore. I touched the snowflake pendant again, drawing strength from it. Goodbye, Marcus. I turned away before I could see his expression, before any part of me could soften toward him. Kael's hand touched my back briefly, grounding, supportive, as we walked back to his truck. My mother caught my arm before I could get in. Aria, please. At least call me. Let me know you're okay. I will. I promise. I hugged her tightly. I love you, Mom. But I need to do this. I need to find out who I am when I'm not trying to be what everyone else wants. I know. She pulled back, cupped my face in her hands. I see it now. How strong you are. How much you've been holding back. Go find yourself, baby. And when you're ready, come tell me all about the incredible woman you've become. Tears stung my eyes. Thank you. As we drove away from the clearing, I watched Silvermoon Pack disappear in the side mirror. Marcus stood at the edge of the trees watching us go. My mother stood with Alara, the two of them talking quietly. Alpha Blackwood was already on his phone, probably calling the council. You did good, Luna said from the front seat. That couldn't have been easy. It wasn't, but it felt right. I looked down at my hands, at the frost that had been unconsciously forming on my fingertips throughout the entire confrontation. Is it wrong that I feel relieved? Like a weight I didn't know I was carrying just lifted? Not wrong at all, Kael said, his eyes meeting mine in the rearview mirror. You've been carrying the weight of their expectations, their judgments, their limitations. Now you're free of it. That's worth celebrating. Even though I just permanently burned bridges with my old pack? Sometimes bridges need to burn, Luna said philosophically. Especially if they're leading you somewhere you don't want to go. Back at the Frostpine Pack House, the gifted wolves were waiting. Finn, Kara, Ridge, all of them must have sensed the tension of the day because they'd set up what looked like a welcome home party. We figured you could use some cheering up, Finn explained, gesturing to the spread of food and drinks. Plus, Luna told us you officially chose to stay. That deserves a celebration. I haven't officially chosen anything, I protested, but I was smiling. I said I needed time. Same thing, Kara said cheerfully. Nobody who just stood up to their old pack like that is going anywhere. You're stuck with us now. The evening dissolved into laughter and stories. The gifted wolves shared their own experiences. Finn had been rejected by his pack for his shadow magic, labeled as dark and unnatural. Kara had been forced out when her healing abilities started bringing people back from the brink of death, making the pack elders uncomfortable. Ridge had simply wandered until he found Frostpine, unable to handle the emotional chaos of larger packs. Kael takes in all of us, Finn said. The broken, the gifted, the ones who don't fit anywhere else. He builds sanctuary out of outcasts. Why? I asked. Because he knows what it's like, Ridge said quietly. To be powerful and alone. To have gifts that isolate you. To need a place where you can just be. I looked across the room to where Kael stood talking with Alara. As if sensing my gaze, he glanced over and our eyes met. Something passed between us. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. Two wolves who didn't quite fit, finding unexpected sanctuary with each other. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I found myself unable to sleep. I wandered outside to the training circle, to the ancient stones that hummed with old magic. Kael was already there. Couldn't sleep either? I asked, echoing my words to Alara from that morning. Too much on my mind. He gestured for me to join him. How are you really doing? After today? I sat on one of the stones, considering the question. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I thought facing Marcus would hurt more. Thought I'd feel, I don't know, regret or sadness or something. But mostly I just feel free. That's good. That's healthy. Is it? I looked up at the stars, at the moon that had blessed my failed mating ceremony just days ago. Or am I just running away from difficult emotions? You're processing them at your own pace. There's a difference. Kael sat beside me, close enough that I could feel his warmth. You don't have to have it all figured out right now, Aria. You're allowed to take time. Everyone keeps saying that. Take time. Process. Figure yourself out. I let frost form in my palm, watched it swirl in delicate patterns. But what if I take too long? What if the council comes or Marcus changes his mind about the rejection, or something else happens before I'm ready? Then we handle it. Together. He reached out, his hand hovering over mine. May I? I nodded, curious. His hand closed over my palm, over the ice forming there. I expected him to pull away from the cold, but he didn't. Instead, his heat met my cold and something incredible happened. The ice didn't melt. It strengthened, grew more defined, the patterns becoming impossibly intricate. What? I breathed. Your magic responds to connection, Kael said softly. To touch, to emotion, to bonds. Watch. He laced his fingers through mine, and the ice between our palms transformed into something beautiful, a crystalline sculpture of intertwining patterns, neither melting nor freezing, just existing in perfect balance. How are you doing that? I'm not. You are. His silver eyes met mine. I'm just amplifying it, maybe? Giving your magic something to interact with besides fear or anger or pain. I stared at our joined hands, at the impossible ice sculpture floating between our palms. I've never done anything like this before. Because you've never had anyone to do it with. Your magic isn't just about control, Aria. It's about connection. About sharing. About finding balance between the cold and the warm. The words settled into me, feeling true in a way I couldn't quite explain. My magic had manifested in heartbreak, grown in anger, been shaped by isolation. But this beauty, this balance, came from something else entirely. Thank you, I whispered. For everything. The sanctuary, the training, the patience. I don't know what I would have done without you. You would have survived. You're stronger than you know. Kael's thumb brushed across my knuckles, sending sparks through me that had nothing to do with magic. But I'm glad you didn't have to survive alone. We sat there for a long moment, hands clasped, the ice sculpture growing more elaborate between us. The moon watched from above, and I thought about fate and choices and the paths that lead us where we're meant to be. Maybe Marcus hadn't been wrong when he said the bond made a mistake. Maybe it had chosen him to bring me to my breaking point, the place where I'd either shatter completely or discover I was made of stronger stuff than anyone knew. Maybe the real gift wasn't the ice magic at all. Maybe it was the freedom to choose what came next. Kael? I said softly. Yes. I think I want to stay. Not temporarily. Not just until I'm trained. I think I want to transfer to Frostpine permanently. His hand tightened on mine. Are you sure? That's not a decision to make lightly. I know. But I've never been more sure of anything. I looked at him, at this alpha who'd given me sanctuary without hesitation, who saw my power as gift instead of threat, who made my magic sing with possibility. This pack, these wolves, this feels right. Like home. Then you'll stay. His smile was genuine, warm. Welcome to Frostpine Pack, Aria Winters. The ice sculpture between our hands burst into a shower of snowflakes, dancing around us in the moonlight. And for the first time since my world fell apart, I felt truly, completely at peace. This was where I belonged. This was where I'd become who I was always meant to be. And winter, beautiful, powerful, unstoppable winter, was just beginning to wake in my blood. Chapter 4. Feel the cold, Aria instructed, her voice echoing across the training circle. Don't fight it. Don't fear it. Become it. I closed my eyes, reached deep inside myself where the ice lived. And for the first time I didn't just touch the power, I surrendered to it. The temperature dropped so fast that everyone watching gasped. Frost exploded outward from where I stood, covering the entire circle in seconds. Ice climbed the ancient stones, beautiful and terrible in mine. When I opened my eyes, they glowed pure white. There she is, Aria breathed. There's the Winter Witch. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria has chosen her path, Frostpine Pack, permanent sanctuary, and a future she's building for herself. But choosing to stay is just the beginning. Now comes the real work, learning to master the ice magic flowing through her veins, discovering the depths of her moon witch heritage, and navigating the growing connection with an alpha who makes her power sing. Today, Aria's training begins in earnest. And she's about to discover that controlling winter is nothing compared to controlling what she feels when Kael touches her. Chapter 4. The training starts now. The week following my decision to stay was a whirlwind. Official pack transfer paperwork, territory agreements between Kael and Alpha Blackwood, endless phone calls with my mother who was both worried and proud. But through it all, one constant remained: training. Every morning before dawn, Aria met me in the training circle. The ancient stones had become my second home, the place where I pushed my limits and discovered I had fewer limitations than I'd thought. Again, Aria said, her breath misting in the frigid air I'd created. But this time shape it. Don't just release the cold, sculpt it. I held out my hands, feeling the familiar tingle of magic building in my core. Ice formed in my palms, spreading outward. But instead of just letting it go wild, I focused on what I wanted, a barrier, solid and strong. The ice rose up, forming a wall between Aria and me. It was rough, uneven, but it held. Better, Aria said, walking around the barrier to examine it. Your control is improving rapidly. Most winter witches take months to achieve this level of precision. You're doing it in days. Is that normal? Nothing about you is normal, little moon. She smiled. Your power is stronger than any I've seen in 4 generations. It's responding to your emotions, yes, but also to your will. That's rare. Most gifted wolves are slaves to their magic at first. You're already beginning to command yours. Pride warmed me, pushing back the cold. The ice barrier immediately began to melt. I see. Alara pointed. Emotions still affect it. Joy, love, pride, they weaken ice magic. You need to maintain the cold inside even when you're feeling warm things. How? By understanding that cold isn't the absence of feeling. It's its own feeling. Its own power. She moved closer. Ice isn't just destruction, Aria. It's preservation. Protection. Beauty. When you can hold both warmth and cold inside you simultaneously, when you can feel joy while wielding winter, that's when you'll truly master this gift. I thought about that as I practiced throughout the morning. About holding opposing forces in balance. About being warm and cold at once. It reminded me of the night Kael had touched my hand, how his heat had amplified my ice instead of melting it. As if summoned by the thought, Kael appeared at the edge of the training circle around mid-morning. He leaned against one of the ancient stones, watching me work with an expression I couldn't quite read. How's she doing? He asked Alara. Exceptionally well. Her control doubles every day. Alara glanced between us, something knowing in her ice-blue eyes. But I think she could use a different kind of training now. Something more dynamic. What did you have in mind? Combat training. She needs to learn to use her gift while moving, while under pressure, while someone is actively trying to stop her. Alara's smile was slightly wicked. She needs a sparring partner. And I think you'd be perfect. My heart kicked up. Spar? With Kael? Unless you're afraid, Kael said, but there was a challenge in his voice that made my wolf sit up and take notice. I'm not afraid. The words came out more confident than I felt. But I don't want to hurt you accidentally. You won't. He pushed off the stone, walking into the circle with the fluid grace of a born predator. I'm fast and I can take a hit. Besides, you need to learn how to control your magic when adrenaline is high. When someone is coming at you who won't stop just because you ask nicely. He was right. I'd been training in controlled conditions with Alara gently pushing me. But real threats wouldn't be gentle. Real fights wouldn't give me time to carefully shape my ice. Okay, I said. What are the rules? No rules. Just try to stop me from reaching you. Kael rolled his shoulders and I watched muscles shift beneath his shirt. Use whatever you've got. Ice, barriers, offensive magic, anything. I'm going to treat this like a real threat. Meaning? Meaning I'm not going to hold back just because you're beautiful when you freeze things. The casual compliment sent heat through me, and I watched frost form at my feet in response to the conflicting emotions. Damn it. Alara was right. I needed to learn to maintain control even when Kael was making my heart race. Ready? He asked. I barely had time to nod before he moved. He was fast, faster than any wolf I'd ever trained against. 1 second he was 20 feet away, the next he was closing the distance with supernatural speed. Instinct took over. I threw up my hands and ice erupted between us. A wall, crude but solid. Kael pivoted, going around it instead of through it. I sent spears of ice shooting toward him, forcing him to dodge. He moved like water, like wind, avoiding every attack with minimal effort. Too slow, he called. You're telegraphing your moves? I can see them coming. I gritted my teeth and tried again. This time I created ice beneath his feet, trying to make him slip. He adjusted instantly, his balance perfect even on the suddenly slick surface. Better. But you're still thinking too much. He was right in front of me now and I panicked. Ice exploded outward from my body in all directions. Uncontrolled, chaotic, dangerous. Kael threw himself backward, barely avoiding the worst of it, but frost caught his arm. I gasped. Are you okay? I'm fine. And that, he gestured to the ice spreading across the ground, that's what you need to learn to do on purpose. Raw power like that but controlled. Directed. We went again. And again. Each time, Kael pushed me harder, moved faster, gave me less time to think. And each time, my magic responded with increasing precision. The ice that had been wild and chaotic at the beginning started to form with intent. Barriers where I needed them. Spears that actually came close to hitting their mark. Frost that spread with purpose. By the time Alara called a break, I was exhausted and exhilarated. Sweat froze on my skin, my breath came in visible clouds, and the entire training circle looked like a winter wonderland. You're a natural, Kael said, barely winded despite the workout. Give it another week and you'll be able to hold off multiple attackers. Another week? I looked at the destruction we'd caused. I can barely hold off you. For now. But you're learning fast. He grabbed a water bottle from the sidelines, tossed one to me. Your instincts are good. You just need to trust them more. Aria appeared beside us, looking pleased. I think that's enough for this morning. Aria, why don't you take a break, get some food? We'll work on fine control this afternoon. As we walked back toward the pack house, Kael kept pace beside me. Luna met us halfway, grinning. Heard you've been kicking ass in training. The whole pack is talking about it. More like getting my ass kicked, I corrected. Kael's impossible to hit. That's because he's been training since he could walk. Give yourself some credit. Most wolves wouldn't last 5 minutes against him in a sparring match. Luna looped her arm through mine. Come on, Ridge made his famous breakfast burritos. You need to eat. The pack house had become familiar over the past week. I knew which floorboards creaked, which windows got the best morning light, which chair in the common room was the most comfortable. I knew the pack members by name now, not just the gifted wolves but everyone. The warriors, the caregivers, the young wolves still in training. They'd welcome me without question. No probationary period, no testing to prove my worth. Kael had announced I was staying and that was enough. Over breakfast, Finn entertained everyone with a story about accidentally shadow walking into the Alpha's bedroom at 3 in the morning. I was trying to get to the bathroom, he explained through laughter. But shadow magic doesn't care about walls or privacy apparently. I just stepped through one shadow and out another, right next to Kael's bed. And you screamed? Kara added, giggling. Of course I screamed. He was awake, sitting up in bed, glowing eyes in the dark like some kind of demon. I thought I was going to die. Kael, sitting across from me, shook his head with a slight smile. I thought we had an intruder. Nearly shifted before I realized it was just Finn having another control malfunction. Just Finn, Finn repeated dramatically. That's all I am. Just Finn, the shadow walker who can't use the bathroom like a normal person. The easy camaraderie, the laughter, the sense of belonging, it filled something in me I hadn't realized was empty. At Silver Moon, meals had been formal affairs with strict hierarchy and careful conversation. Here, everyone just existed together, comfortable and real. After breakfast, Aria took me back to the training circle for fine control work. She had me practice creating specific shapes, snowflakes with exact patterns, ice sculptures of animals, frost that formed words on command. Why does this matter? I asked after the 4th attempt at creating an ice wolf sculpture. In a fight, nobody's going to care if my ice spears are aesthetically pleasing. Control matters. Precision matters. If you can shape ice into something as delicate as a snowflake, then you can shape it into anything. A weapon. A shield. A cage. Alaria's expression was serious. And someday you might need to use your magic around allies. Around people you don't want to hurt. That requires precision you can only develop through practice. She was right, of course. So I kept working, kept pushing, kept trying to make the ice obey my exact intentions instead of just my general emotional state. By mid-afternoon, I could create a perfect snowflake on command. By evening, I graduated to ice sculptures that actually looked like what they were supposed to be. Good, Aria said finally. Very good. Tomorrow we'll start on offensive techniques. Real combat magic, not just barriers and defense. Can't wait, I said and meant it. That night, I found myself drawn back to the training circle after dinner. The moon was rising, full and bright, and I wanted to practice in its light. Wanted to see what my magic looked like under the moon's blessing. I'd been working for maybe 20 minutes, creating and dismissing ice sculptures, when I felt him approach. Kael, his presence unmistakable even before I turned. Couldn't stay away? He asked, moving to stand beside me. I wanted to practice. See how the magic feels under moonlight. And? Different. Stronger maybe. Or just more awake. I created a snowflake, watched it catch the silver light. The moon feels like it's singing to my magic. Like it recognizes what I am. Moon which heritage, Kael said. Makes sense that lunar energy would amplify your gift. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching frost patterns spread across the ground. Can I ask you something? I said quietly. Anything. Why did you really take me in? That first night you didn't know who I was, what I could do. I was just a crying, naked wolf in your territory. You could have chased me off or sent me back to Silver Moon. Why didn't you? Kael was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. Because I saw someone breaking. Someone at their absolute lowest point. and I remembered what it felt like to be there. When your parents died? When my mate bond broke. He looked at me, silver eyes reflecting moonlight. I haven't told many people this story, but I was engaged once. Before I became Alpha. Before I understood what the mate bond really meant. My breath caught. What happened? She was my destined mate. We felt it when we were young, that pull, that certainty. We planned our whole future together. His expression was carefully neutral, but I could hear old pain underneath. Then her sister got sick. Terminal. My mate couldn't stand watching her die, couldn't handle the grief. She left. Just left. Broke our bond and walked away because the pain was too much. Kael? She said she couldn't love me and watch her sister die at the same time. That she needed to be alone to process. I understood. Or I tried to. But then weeks became months, months became years. She never came back. He turned to face me fully. The bond broke slowly, painfully. Not like your rejection, quick and brutal. Mine was a slow death. And by the time it was finally gone, I'd learned that the mate bond isn't infallible. It doesn't guarantee anything. It just connects you. What you do with that connection is still up to you. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be. It taught me something valuable, that choice matters more than destiny. That the strongest bonds are the ones we choose to build, not the ones the moon forces on us. His hand found mine in the dark. When I saw you by that stream, crying with frost spreading around you, I saw someone the moon had connected to the wrong person. Someone who deserved a choice. So I gave you one. And now you're here. Training, growing, becoming who you're meant to be. That's all I wanted for you. His thumb brushed across my knuckles and I felt my magic respond, not with chaos but with beauty. Snowflakes began to fall around us, soft and gentle. Though I'll admit, having you here has been good for me too. Good how? You make me remember that cold and warmth can exist together. That power doesn't have to mean isolation. He smiled slightly. And you're easy to talk to. Easy to be around. My heart was racing now and the snowfall intensified in response. Kael noticed, his smile widening. Your magic really does respond to everything you feel, doesn't it? Unfortunately. Makes it hard to hide anything. Why would you want to hide? His free hand came up, catching one of the falling snowflakes. This is beautiful, Aria. You're beautiful. The ice, the power, all of it. The words Marcus should have said but never did. The acceptance I'd been craving without knowing it. Kael. My voice came out breathless. I don't know what this is between us, but it's whatever you want it to be. He stepped closer and I could feel his heat even through the cold I was generating. No pressure. No expectations. No destiny forcing our hands. Just possibility. Possibility. The words settled into my chest, warming me from the inside out. I should have been cautious. Should have remembered that I'd just escaped one mate bond, that jumping into something with another alpha was probably too much too fast. But looking at Kael, at this man who'd given me sanctuary and respect and space to become myself, caution felt impossible. I'm not ready for another mate bond, I said honestly. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. Good. Neither am I. His smile was genuine. But friendship? Partnership? Training together, learning together, seeing where this goes without forcing anything? That I can do. Yeah. I smiled back. I can do that too. The snowfall around us intensified, and this time it wasn't chaotic or fearful. It was joyful. Celebration made manifest in ice and winter light. Kael laughed, spinning in the falling snow like a child. This is incredible. You're literally making it snow because you're happy. Apparently I can't help it. Don't help it. Let yourself feel everything. He held out his hand. Dance with me? What? Dance. In the snow you're creating. Under the moon that blessed you. His eyes were bright with mischief and something warmer. Come on. When was the last time you just did something for joy? I couldn't remember. Couldn't remember the last time I'd allowed myself pure, uncomplicated happiness. I took his hand. We danced, not formal, not structured, just movement for the sake of movement. Spinning and laughing in snow that fell only for us, in a circle of ancient stones under a moon that watched with silver approval. My magic sang with it, the ice forming patterns in the air like we were inside a snow globe. When we finally stopped, breathless and happy, I realized the entire training circle was covered in frost patterns so intricate they looked like someone had painted them. My subconscious had been creating art while I danced. Ilara's going to be so proud, Kael said, examining the patterns. This is master-level control, Aria. You did this without even trying. I did it without thinking about it. That's different. Is it? Maybe real mastery is when the magic just flows naturally without conscious effort. He touched one of the frost patterns, watched it shimmer under his fingers. Maybe you've been trying too hard to control it when you should just let it be part of you. The observation struck deep. I'd been treating my magic like something separate, something to wrangle and contain. But it was part of me. Part of my heritage, my blood, my soul. Maybe the key wasn't control at all. Maybe it was acceptance. You're very wise for someone who doesn't have magic, I teased. I have magic. It's just called leadership instead of ice manipulation. He grinned. Come on, let's get inside before we both freeze. Even I have limits for how long I can stand in a winter wonderland. As we walked back to the pack house, our hands still loosely linked, I felt something shift inside me. The cold that had taken up residence in my chest since Marcus's rejection, it was still there, but it felt different now. Less like a wound and more like power. Less like loss and more like possibility. I'd spent so long being afraid of being too much, too weak, too different. But here, with Kael and Alara and the gifted wolves, I could be exactly as much as I was. Could be powerful without apology, cold without cruelty, magical without fear. And maybe, just maybe, I could open my heart again, carefully, slowly, with someone who understood that the mate bond wasn't the only way to build something real. That night, I dreamed of winter kingdoms and ice palaces, of wolves running through snow that never melted, of silver eyes that saw me not as broken or wrong but as exactly who I was meant to be. And when I woke the next morning to find my room covered in the most beautiful frost patterns I'd ever created, I smiled. Winter was no longer something that happened to me. Winter was something I commanded. And the real magic? That was only beginning. Chapter 5. Aria Winters. The elder's voice was cold, calculated. We've heard interesting reports about your manifestation. The council would like to speak with you. Officially. I felt Kael tense beside me, his protective instincts flaring. Around us, frost began to spread as my anxiety spiked. She's under my protection, Kael said, his voice dropping to an alpha's command. If the council wants to speak with her, they go through me first. The elder's smile was thin and didn't reach his eyes. That's exactly what we're doing, Alpha Stormwood. Consider this your formal notice. We'll be visiting Frostpine territory in 3 days. I trust you'll have Miss Winters prepared. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria has been training, growing stronger, discovering the depths of her power. The connection with Kael is deepening, her control is sharpening, and for the first time in her life she feels like she belongs somewhere. But peace never lasts when you're a wolf with rare magic. Today the council makes their move. And Aria will discover that being powerful comes with a price. Attention from those who want to control that power. Chapter 5. The council's interest starts now. 2 weeks into my training I could create a blizzard on command. It happened during a particularly intense sparring session with Kael. He'd been pushing me harder than usual, not giving me a second to breathe between attacks. My barriers kept shattering under his relentless assault, my ice spears missing their mark as he moved with impossible speed. Come on, Aria, he shouted, dodging another wave of frost. Stop thinking. Just feel. Frustration boiled over. I stopped trying to aim, stopped trying to control individual attacks, and just surrendered to the cold inside me. The sky darkened. Wind whipped through the training circle. And then snow. Not the gentle, beautiful flakes from before. This was a wall of white, a howling storm that filled the entire space between the ancient stones. Temperature plummeted so fast that the watching pack members gasped and scrambled backward. I stood in the center of the blizzard, completely calm while chaos raged around me. Through the white, I could barely see Kael, struggling against winds that threatened to knock him off his feet. Aria. Alara's voice cut through the storm. Pull it back. You've proven your point. Had I? I felt the power coursing through me, felt how easy it would be to let the storm grow, to freeze everything in sight. The temptation was there, intoxicating and dangerous. No, that wasn't who I wanted to be. I pulled the cold back inside, felt it settle into my core like a sleeping dragon. The blizzard stopped as suddenly as it had started, leaving the training circle covered in several inches of fresh snow. Kael stood 20 feet away, frost clinging to his hair and clothes, his expression stunned. Holy hell, Luna breathed from the sidelines. Did you just create actual weather? I think so. My hands were shaking. I didn't mean to. That was incredible, Kael said, walking toward me through the snow. Terrifying but incredible. Do you understand what you just did? Lost control? Manifested advanced magic that most winter witches take decades to achieve. Alara appeared beside us, her eyes bright with pride and concern. Creating localized weather systems is master-level work, Aria. You did it in 2 weeks. Is that bad? It's dangerous. Not bad but dangerous. She studied me carefully. How do you feel? Drained? Corrupted by the power? I took inventory of myself. Tired, but not corrupted. Just tired. Good. That's good. Alara exchanged a look with Kael. But this changes things. If you can create blizzards this easily, the council will definitely take notice. They monitor magical manifestations, especially powerful ones. Let them notice, I said, surprised by my own boldness. I'm not hiding what I am. Not anymore. I'm not asking you to hide. Alara's expression was serious. I'm asking you to be prepared. The council doesn't like wild cards. They'll want to assess you, test you, potentially recruit you. Or eliminate me, I said quietly, remembering what she told me about council hunters. Not while I'm alive. Kael's voice carried absolute conviction. You're Frostpine Pack now. Under my protection. They'll have to go through me to get to you. The declaration sent warmth through my chest, pushing back the cold. Around us, the snow began to melt slightly. See? Alara pointed at the melting snow. You can balance it now. Cold and warm together. That's progress. Over the next few days, we focused on control rather than power. Alara taught me how to create specific effects. Targeted frost instead of area-wide cold, ice weapons that wouldn't accidentally harm allies, barriers I could see through while enemies couldn't. The gifted wolves helped too. Finn taught me how to sense where my magic was manifesting, even without looking. Kara showed me how to pull power back quickly if I started to lose control. Ridge helped me understand how my emotional state affected the magic's intensity. You're actually really good at this, Finn said one afternoon as we practiced together. Most of us spent months just figuring out how to not use our gifts accidentally. You're already weaponizing yours. Alara's a good teacher. And I'm motivated. By what? Fear of the council? By not wanting to be helpless again. I created an ice sculpture of a wolf, let it dissolve. When Marcus rejected me, when the bond broke, I felt powerless. Like I had no control over anything happening to me. This magic, it's mine. Nobody can take it away or tell me I'm not worthy of it. As long as I can control it, I'm never powerless again. Finn nodded slowly. I get that. My pack tried to suppress my shadow walking, told me it was dark magic, evil. Made me afraid of my own gift. Coming here, learning to use it without shame, that changed everything. Kael's good at that, I observed. Making people feel like their differences are strengths instead of flaws. He's the best alpha I've ever served. Finn's expression turned sly. And I've noticed he's been spending a lot of time with you. Like a lot of time. Personal time. Heat crept up my neck. We're just training together. Right. Training. Is that what the kids are calling it these days? He laughed at my expression. I'm teasing. But seriously, Aria, everyone can see there's something between you two. And honestly, it's kind of beautiful. You both deserve happiness. Before I could respond, Luna came running across the training grounds, her expression urgent. Kael needs you. Both of you. Now. My stomach dropped. What's wrong? Council. They called. They're coming. We found Kael in his office with Alara, both of them looking grim. A speakerphone sat on the desk between them, still active. Miss Winters, an unfamiliar male voice said from the speaker. How good of you to join us. I am Elder Mortimer, head of the Magical Affairs Division of the Wolf Council. My blood went cold. This was it. The hunters Alara had warned me about. Elder Mortimer, I said, keeping my voice steady. What can I do for you? We've received reports of a powerful manifestation in Frostpine territory. Ice magic specifically. Weather manipulation. Very rare, very interesting. His tone was pleasant but calculating. The council would like to speak with you. Officially. I felt Kael tense beside me, his protective instincts flaring. Around us, frost began to spread from my feet as my anxiety spiked. She's under my protection, Kael said, his voice dropping to an alpha's command. If the council wants to speak with her, they go through me first. That's exactly what we're doing, Alpha Stormwood. Consider this your formal notice. We'll be visiting Frostpine territory in 3 days. I trust you'll have Miss Winters prepared. Prepared for what? I asked. Assessment. Testing. Standard procedure for newly manifested gifts of significant power. Elder Mortimer's voice remained pleasant. Nothing to worry about, I assure you. We simply need to understand the scope of your abilities and ensure you're receiving proper training. She is receiving proper training, Aria said coldly. From me. Her grandmother. Who has more experience with winter magic than your entire division combined. Pause. Then, Aria Winters. We thought you were dead. You were meant to think that. It kept my family safe from your hunters. We don't hunt anyone, Ms. Winters. We protect the wolf community from dangerous magical manifestations. His tone hardened slightly. But your reappearance does complicate matters. The council will want to speak with you as well. I'm sure they will. Tell them I said hello and to go to hell in that order. Despite the tension, I felt my lips twitch. Aria had no fear of these people. Be that as it may, we will be arriving in 3 days. Alpha Stormwood, we expect your full cooperation. The line clicked off. Silence filled the office. Then Kael slammed his hand down on the desk, cracking the wood. This is exactly what I was afraid of, Aria said quietly. They move fast when they sense power. What do they want with me, really? I asked. Beyond assessment? Recruitment, most likely. The council uses gifted wolves as enforcers, weapons. They'll want to see if you're controllable, if you can follow orders. Aria met my eyes. If you show too much independent thought, too much power, they'll try to suppress you. Potentially imprison you under the guise of protective custody. They can try. Kael's eyes blazed silver. But they're not taking Aria anywhere. Not without a fight. A fight with the council is a fight you can't win, Alpha. Alaria's voice was gentle but firm. They have resources, connections, laws on their side. We need to be smart about this. Then what do you suggest? We prepare Aria to impress them so thoroughly that they have no choice but to acknowledge her control and autonomy. We show them a winter witch in complete command of her gift, trained by someone with more knowledge than they possess, protected by a powerful alpha and his pack. We make taking her more trouble than it's worth. I looked between them at these two people who barely knew me but were already planning how to protect me from the council's reach. And if that doesn't work? I asked quietly. Then we run, Aria said simply. I've done it before. I can do it again. No. The word came out firm, certain. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. And I'm not letting the council dictate what I can or can't do with my own magic. Aria, Kael started. No. Listen to me. I stood, felt the cold rising in me, not from fear but from determination. I spent my whole life trying to be small enough, quiet enough, obedient enough. Trying to fit into boxes other people built for me. And where did it get me? Rejected, heartbroken, told I wasn't worthy. I'm done with that. If the council wants to assess me, fine. Let them come. Let them see exactly what kind of witch I am. Frost spread across the floor as I spoke, climbing the walls, forming patterns that reflected my resolve. I'm not a weapon for them to control or a threat for them to eliminate. I'm a wolf with a gift I'm learning to master. And I'll show them that on my own terms. Aria was smiling, pride evident in her expression. There's the winter witch. There's the bloodline showing through. You're sure about this? Kael asked. Once we let them in, once they see what you can do, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. I looked at him, at those silver eyes that had become my anchor. Besides, I'm not doing this alone. I have you. I have Aria. I have this whole pack. That's more backup than the council probably expects. Damn right it is, Luna said from the doorway where she'd apparently been listening. And if they try anything, they'll have to go through all of us. The other gifted wolves appeared behind her. Finn, Kara, Ridge, and several others I'd trained with over the past weeks. All of them nodding agreement. We're with you, Finn said simply. All of us. The solidarity, the instant support from wolves who owed me nothing. It cracked something open in my chest. Not painfully but like a door opening to let light in. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank us yet, Kara said with a slight smile. Wait until after we survive the council visit. Then we'll celebrate. The next 3 days were a whirlwind of preparation. Aria drilled me relentlessly on control exercises, testing my limits, pushing me to maintain precision even under pressure. Kael ran combat scenarios, simulating what might happen if the council tried to force me into a demonstration. Remember, Aria said the night before the council was due to arrive, power isn't about the biggest display. It's about confidence. Control. Showing them you're the master of your gift, not the other way around. What if they ask me to do something I can't? Then you tell them you're still in training. But honestly. She gestured to the intricate ice palace I'd created in miniature on the table between us. I don't think there's much you can't do at this point. Your power has grown exponentially in 3 weeks. At this rate, you'll surpass me within months. That's not possible. It's not only possible, it's inevitable. Your bloodline is stronger than mine ever was. You're the first in generations to manifest the full winter blessing. Once you complete your training, there won't be another witch alive who can match you. The words should have felt empowering. Instead, they felt heavy. More power meant more responsibility, more attention, more danger. That night, unable to sleep, I found myself at the training circle again. The moon was waning but still bright, casting silver light across the snow-covered ground. Kael was already there. Couldn't sleep either? I asked, our ritual greeting by now. Too much on my mind. He patted the stone beside him. Sit. I settled next to him, close enough that our shoulders touched. The contact sent warmth through me, pushing back the cold that had become my constant companion. I'm scared, I admitted quietly. About tomorrow. About what they might want from me. That's smart. Fear keeps you sharp. Kael's hand found mine. But remember, you're not the same wolf who ran across my borders 3 weeks ago. You're stronger now. Trained. Protected. And most importantly, you know your worth. Do I? You stood up to Marcus and your old pack. You chose to stay here, to train, to become who you're meant to be. You created a blizzard in 2 weeks. You've earned the respect of every wolf in Frostpine, including mine. He squeezed my hand. So yes, you know your worth. Don't let the council make you forget it. What if they try to take me? They won't succeed. His voice carried absolute certainty. I told you before, you're under my protection. That's not just words, Aria. That's a promise. An alpha's vow. They'll have to kill me before they take you anywhere against your will. The fierce protectiveness in his voice sent shivers through me that had nothing to do with cold. Kael. I turned to face him. Why are you doing this? Really? I know you said you understand what it's like to be broken by the mate bond, but this is putting your whole pack at risk. The council could make things difficult for Frostpine because of me. Let them try. He reached up, brushed a strand of hair from my face. You want the real reason? The complete truth. Please. Because when I look at you, I see someone worth protecting. Worth fighting for. Worth risking everything for. His silver eyes held mine. And because somewhere along the way between the training and the midnight conversations and watching you become who you're meant to be, I started to care about you as more than just a pack member under my protection. My breath caught. Kael? I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I know you're not ready for a mate bond and I'm not either. But I need you to know, whatever happens tomorrow, whatever the council wants, I'm on your side. Not as your alpha. As someone who cares about you deeply. The confession hung in the air between us, heavy and bright. I should have been cautious, should have remembered how badly the last bond had hurt. But looking at Kael, at this alpha who'd given me everything without asking for anything in return, caution felt impossible. I care about you too, I whispered. More than I probably should, this soon after everything with Marcus. There's no timeline for healing. No rule that says you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can feel something new. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. And this, whatever this is, it's different from what you had before. This is choice, not destiny. Partnership, not possession. I like that, I said softly. Choice. Then choose. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my cold skin. Choose what happens next. I'll follow your lead. I looked at him, really looked. At the alpha who'd found me broken and helped me rebuild. At the man who made my magic sing with possibility. At the wolf who saw my power as gift instead of threat. And I chose. I closed the distance between us, pressing my lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, both of us testing this new territory. Then Kael's hand came up to cup the back of my head, and the kiss deepened. Heat met cold, and instead of melting, they amplified each other. Power surged through me, not chaotic or frightening, but beautiful. Snow began to fall around us, soft and perfect. The air shimmered with ice crystals that caught the moonlight. Frost spread across the ground in intricate patterns that looked like art. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, the entire training circle looked like something from a fairy tale. Snow falling gently, frost patterns glittering, ice sculptures forming spontaneously from the overflow of magic and emotion. That was... Kael trailed off, looking around in wonder. My magic responds to strong emotions, I said, slightly embarrassed. Apparently kissing you qualifies. Good to know. His smile was warm, genuine. Though I think the real magic is just you. We sat there for a while longer, my head on his shoulder, his arm around me, surrounded by the winter wonderland my subconscious had created. Tomorrow would bring the council and whatever threats they represented. But tonight, in this moment, I felt safe, powerful, chosen. And when I finally went to bed hours later, I slept deeply and dreamlessly, the frost on my windows forming patterns that looked like wolves running through snow, free and fearless. Tomorrow I'd face the council. Tomorrow I'd show them what a winter witch could do. But tonight I kissed an alpha who saw me for exactly who I was. And that felt like the most powerful magic of all. Chapter 6. Impressive control, Elder Mortimer said, circling me like a predator. But control under calm conditions means nothing. We need to see what happens when you're pushed. When you're angry. When you lose that precious composure. He nodded to his enforcers and they moved toward Kael with clear intent. No, I said, my voice dropping to dangerous cold. You don't touch him. Frost exploded outward from where I stood, covering the entire clearing in seconds. The temperature plummeted. Ice spears formed in the air, dozens of them, all pointed at the council members. Elder Mortimer smiled. There it is. There's the real power. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria has kissed Kael, discovered feelings she wasn't expecting, and made the choice to face the council on her own terms. But the council doesn't play fair, and they're about to push her in ways she never anticipated. Today the assessment begins. And Aria will discover that sometimes the greatest threat isn't losing control of your power, it's what you're willing to do with it when someone threatens the people you love. Chapter 6. The assessment starts now. The council arrived exactly at noon, 3 black SUVs rolling up the long drive to the Frostpine pack house. I watched from Kael's office window as they emerged, 5 figures, all dressed in formal blacks, all radiating authority and power. Elder Mortimer was in the lead, a tall man with silver hair and sharp features that reminded me of a hawk. Behind him came 4 enforcers, 2 men and 2 women, all clearly warriors by the way they moved. Remember what we practiced, Ilara said quietly beside me. Confidence. Control. Show them mastery, not fear. And if they push too hard? I asked. Then you push back. But strategically, not emotionally. She squeezed my shoulder. You've got this, little moon. Kael was already heading downstairs to greet them, his alpha bearing on full display. Luna and several senior pack members flanked him, a show of unity and strength. I followed with Ilara, taking my place at Kael's right side. Elder Mortimer, Kael greeted formally. Welcome to Frostpine territory. Alpha Stormwood. Thank you for your cooperation. Elder Mortimer's eyes immediately found me. And this must be Miss Winters. The winter which everyone's been talking about. I prefer Aria, I said, keeping my voice steady. And I'm still learning. Which feels a bit premature. Does it? His smile didn't reach his eyes. From what I've heard, you created a localized blizzard in under 3 weeks of training. That sounds like a witch to me. That sounds like someone with a good teacher. I gestured to Ilara. My grandmother has been very thorough. Elder Mortimer's gaze shifted to Ilara, and something cold flickered across his expression. Aria Winters. It's been a long time. Not long enough, Mortimer? Still holding a grudge after all these years? We were simply doing our duty. Your duty involved hunting my kind like animals, Ilara interrupted sharply. Let's not pretend this is a social call. You're here to assess my granddaughter. So assess. Then leave. The tension was thick enough to cut. One of the enforcers, a large man with a scarred face, stepped forward, clearly ready to intervene. Instantly, frost spread from my feet. Everyone stay calm, Kael said, his alpha command making everyone pause. Elder, you're here for an assessment. Let's conduct it professionally. Elder Mortimer inclined his head. Of course. Miss Winters, if you would demonstrate your capabilities, we can make this brief. What exactly do you want to see? Basic manipulation first. Create ice, shape it, dismiss it. Then we'll progress to more advanced techniques. We moved to the training circle, the entire Frostpine pack gathering at a respectful distance to watch. The council members stood on one side, Kael and my pack on the other. The division was clear, us versus them. Whenever you're ready, Elder Mortimer said. I took a breath, centered myself, and reached for the cold inside me. It came easily now, like greeting an old friend. Ice formed in my palm, crystalline and perfect. I shaped it into a snowflake, then a wolf, then a sword, each transformation smooth and controlled. Good. Now create a barrier. I raised my hand and a wall of ice rose between us, thick and impenetrable. Through it, I could see Elder Mortimer's distorted form, could watch him test its strength with a touch. Impressive density. And you can see through it? One-way visibility. I can see out but you can't see in. Useful for defense. Very useful. He made a note on a tablet one of the enforcers handed him. Now offensive magic. Create a weapon and attack that tree. I formed an ice spear and hurled it at the target he'd indicated. It hit dead center, burying itself 3 inches deep in the trunk. Accuracy needs work, but power is adequate. Now show me area control. Freeze this entire circle. That was harder. Freezing a specific area meant controlling the spread precisely, making sure it stopped exactly where I wanted. But I'd practiced this with Alara. I pressed my palms to the ground and let the cold flow outward. Frost spread across the grass in intricate patterns, stopping precisely at the edge of the stone circle. The temperature inside dropped 20 degrees in seconds. The council members looked impressed despite themselves. Even Elder Mortimer raised an eyebrow. 3 weeks of training? Give or take, Alara said proudly. I told you she was exceptional. Exceptional doesn't begin to cover it. Elder Mortimer walked around the frozen circle, examining the frost patterns. This level of control usually takes months, sometimes years. You're either a prodigy or what? I asked. Or you're not entirely in control and you're simply masking it well. His eyes were sharp, assessing. Which brings me to the real test. Emotional control. My stomach dropped. What? Your magic is tied to your emotions, correct? That's how it manifested, through the trauma of mate bond rejection. So we need to see how you handle emotional stress. If you can maintain control when you're angry, afraid, or hurt. That's not, Kael started forward. Standard procedure, Elder Mortimer interrupted. If Miss Winters can't control her gift under pressure, she's a danger to everyone around her. Surely you understand that Alpha was a trap. If I refused, I looked weak or unstable. If I agreed, they'd push me until I broke, then use that as justification to take me into protective custody. Fine, I said before Kael could object further. What do you want me to do? Simply maintain control while we test your emotional responses. He nodded to his enforcers. Let's start with fear. Jones, if you would. The scarred enforcer shifted into wolf form and charged at me. It happened so fast I barely had time to react. 1 second he was 20 feet away, the next he was lunging for my throat. Instinct took over, ice erupted between us, a barrier that caught him mid-leap and sent him sprawling. Good, Elder Mortimer said calmly, like he hadn't just sicked a wolf on me. But that was defensive. Can you maintain that control while on the offensive? What are you asking me to do? Attack him back. Show me you can weaponize your gift under pressure. I looked at Kael, who gave a small nod. It's okay. Show them. I turned back to the enforcer, who was getting to his feet and growling. Fine. They wanted to see offensive magic? Ice spears formed in the air around me, a dozen of them all pointed at the wolf. I sent them flying one after another, forcing him to dodge and weave. None of them came close to actually hitting him, but they didn't need to. The point was control, precision, using my gift in combat. Excellent. Now let's try anger. Elder Mortimer's voice was clinical. Tell me, Miss Winters, how did it feel when your mate rejected you? When he called you weak and unworthy in front of your entire pack? Heat flashed through me, followed immediately by cold. Frost spread from my feet faster than before. That's none of your business, I said, my voice tight. Isn't it? Your entire manifestation is built on that trauma. The anger, the humiliation, the pain. Those emotions are the foundation of your power. He stepped closer. What happens when we poke that wound? When we remind you that you weren't good enough for him? That he chose politics over you? That he probably regrets his decision now that you're useful, but it doesn't matter because the damage is done. Stop. The word came out cold enough to freeze the air. Or what? You'll attack a council elder? Prove you're exactly the kind of unstable, dangerous. Ice exploded outward from where I stood, spreading in jagged patterns that looked nothing like my usual control. The temperature dropped so fast that everyone's breath came out in clouds. Frost climbed the ancient stones, turned the grass brittle. But I pulled it back before it could reach anyone. Pulled it back and held it, trembling with the effort of containing rage that wanted to freeze everything in sight. Impressive control, Elder Mortimer said, not even fazed. But control under calm conditions means nothing. We need to see what happens when you're pushed further. When you're truly angry. When you lose that precious composure. He nodded to his enforcers and they moved toward Kael with clear intent. No, I said, my voice dropping to dangerous cold. You don't touch him. We're not going to hurt your alpha. We just need to see how you react when someone you care about is threatened. It's all part of the assessment. Two enforcers grabbed Kael's arms. He could have thrown them off, he was stronger than both combined, but if he fought back it would give them an excuse to escalate. So he stayed still, his silver eyes locked on mine. Trust me, his expression said. Stay in control. But I could feel the cold rising inside me, could feel the ice responding to my fury. They had no right to touch him, to use him against me, to treat this like some kind of game. Let him go. Each word came out wrapped in frost. Make us, Elder Mortimer said with that same cold smile. Show us what happens when a winter witch loses control. That's what we really need to see, isn't it? The danger you represent when emotions override training. He wanted me to lose it. Wanted me to attack so he could justify whatever he'd already decided to do. Wanted proof that I was too dangerous to leave free. I looked at Kael, at his steady gaze, his complete faith in me. Then at Alara, who was watching with fierce pride. At Luna and Finn and the rest of my pack, all of them ready to fight if needed. They believed in me. Believed I could do this. So I pulled the cold inside instead of letting it explode outward. Pulled it deep, contained it, shaped it into something controlled and deliberate instead of chaotic and destructive. Frost spread from my feet, but this time it was beautiful. Intricate patterns that looked like artwork, snowflakes that fell gently instead of in blizzard fury. The temperature dropped, but not dangerously. Just enough to be felt, to be respected. No, I said softly. I won't lose control just because you want me to. I won't give you an excuse to label me dangerous. And I won't attack council members just to prove I can. I met Elder Mortimer's eyes steadily. You want to see what kind of witch I am? This is what kind. Powerful, yes. But controlled. Trained. Choosing when and how to use my gift, not being ruled by it. The enforcers released Kael, stepping back. Elder Mortimer studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Fascinating, he said finally. You pass. What? The assessment. You pass. He made more notes on his tablet. Excellent control under emotional duress. Ability to weaponize your gift while maintaining precision. Most importantly, the discipline to pull back when provoked instead of attacking. That's exactly what we needed to see. Anger flared through me again, colder than before. This was all a test? You deliberately pushed you, yes. Because that's what our enemies will do. Rogue wolves, hostile packs, supernatural threats. They'll all use emotional manipulation to break your control. We needed to see if you'd break. His smile was thin. You didn't? Congratulations, Miss Winters. You're cleared for independent operation. I don't want to operate for the council, I said flatly. I'm staying here with my pack, continuing my training. Of course. Though we'll need to check in periodically, ensure your development continues safely. And we'll be keeping files on your progress as we do with all gifted wolves. He turned to Kael. Alpha Stormwood, thank you for your cooperation. We'll be submitting our report to the full council, recommending that Miss Winters remain under your supervision for continued training. She's not under my supervision, Kael said quietly. She's a member of my pack. There's a difference. Semantics. But noted. Elder Mortimer gestured to his team. We'll be going now. Miss Winters, it's been educational. I'm sure we'll speak again. As they walked back to their vehicles, I felt my legs start to shake. The adrenaline, the emotional control, the sheer effort of not losing it, it all caught up at once. Kael was there immediately, his hand on my back, steadying me. You did it. You were perfect. I almost wasn't, I whispered. When they grabbed you, I wanted to freeze them solid. But you didn't. That's what matters. He pulled me closer and I let myself lean into his warmth. You showed them exactly who you are, powerful and controlled. They can't touch you now. Alara appeared on my other side, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I have never been more proud. You are everything our bloodline was meant to be, strong, wise, and merciful even when provoked. Your mother would be so proud, little moon. Luna and the others crowded around, offering congratulations and support. Finn was grinning ear to ear. Did you see their faces when you created that beautiful frost instead of attacking? Priceless. You completely flipped their script. I just didn't want to give them what they wanted, I said, still shaking slightly. That's strategic thinking, Ridge observed. You played the political game better than they did. That's rare for someone so young, so new to their power. As the pack celebrated around me, I watched the council's vehicles disappear down the drive. Elder Mortimer's assessment had been thorough, invasive, designed to break me. But I'd survived it. More than survived. I'd proven I could handle pressure without losing myself to the cold. But something about the way he'd looked at me at the end, that calculating assessment, it made me uneasy. Like he'd learned something he'd been looking for, something I hadn't meant to reveal. That night, after the pack had settled and the celebrations had died down, I found Kael alone in his office. He looked exhausted, the stress of the day showing in the tight lines around his eyes. "Hey," I said softly from the doorway. "You okay? I should be asking you that. They put you through hell today. I survived. Thanks to you." I crossed the room, sat on the edge of his desk. "When they grabbed you and you just looked at me with all that trust, it helped. Gave me something to focus on besides the anger. I knew you could do it. Never doubted it for a second." His hand found mine, lacing our fingers together. "But I hated watching them push you like that. Hated not being able to step in and protect you. You did protect me. Just not the way they expected." I squeezed his hand. "Thank you for believing in me. Always." He tugged me closer and I slid off the desk and into his lap, fitting against him like I belonged there. His arms came around me, and I felt the last of the day's tension drain away. "Kael?" I said after a moment of comfortable silence. Last night when we kissed," I pulled back slightly to meet his eyes. "I meant it. This thing between us, whatever it is. I want to explore it. Carefully, slowly, but I want to see where it goes." His expression softened. "So do I. But Aria, I need you to know, I'm not looking to replace your mate bond. I'm not trying to be what Marcus was supposed to be. I want to be something different. Something built on choice and partnership rather than destiny and obligation. That's exactly what I want too." I touched his face, felt frost form on my fingertips despite the warmth I was feeling. No bond forcing us together. No moon deciding our fate. Just us choosing each other every day. I can do that. He leaned in, and this time when we kissed it was deeper, more certain. No testing or tentative exploration. Just two people who'd chosen each other, consequences be damned. The magic responded again, snow falling gently around us even though we were indoors. Ice crystals danced in the air, catching the lamplight. And when we finally broke apart, breathless, frost had painted beautiful patterns across every surface in the office. "Your magic really likes me," Kael observed with a smile. "My magic recognizes something good when it feels it." I settled back against his chest, content. "Speaking of which, do you think the council really bought it? That I'm fully controlled and not a threat?" Kael's expression turned serious. "Honestly, I think Elder Mortimer saw exactly what he wanted to see. Which might be more dangerous than if you'd failed." "What do you mean?" "I mean he wasn't testing if you're dangerous. He was testing if you're useful. And you showed him you're incredibly useful. Powerful but controlled, able to follow instructions even under pressure, willing to restrain yourself instead of attacking." He stroked my hair absently. "That's exactly the kind of weapon the council looks for." Cold dread settled in my stomach. "You think they'll try to recruit me?" "Eventually, yes. Not now, you're too newly trained, too freshly traumatized. But in 6 months, a year? They'll come back with opportunities. Missions. Ways to use your gift for the greater good of all wolf kind. And if I say no? Then they'll make your life difficult in other ways. Politics, territory disputes, tax audits. The council has 100 ways to pressure packs and their members." His arms tightened around me. "But we'll handle it when it comes. For now, you're cleared to continue training without interference." That's a win. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think the assessment was over, the threat passed. But something about Elder Mortimer's final look stayed with me. Like he'd marked me for something, tagged me for future use. Outside, winter had truly arrived in Frostpine territory. Real snow, not just my magic, was falling beyond the windows. The forest had gone quiet, animals settling in for the long cold months ahead. But inside, wrapped in Kael's arms with my pack safe around me, I felt warm. Protected. Chosen. Whatever the council had planned, whatever Elder Mortimer had seen in me, I'd face it when the time came. With my pack at my back, Ilarish training, and Kael's partnership beside me. I was no longer the weak wolf Marcus had rejected. I was a winter witch in full bloom, ice and fury and fierce determination. And if the council thought they could control that, use that, manipulate that, they were about to learn that winter bows to no one. Not even them. Chapter 7. When two powerful wolves connect deeply, Ilara explained, her voice echoing in the ancient cave, their gifts can amplify each other. But it requires absolute trust. Complete vulnerability. Are you both ready for that? I looked at Kael, felt the pull between us that was growing stronger every day. Not a mate bond forced by the moon, but something we were building together. Something that felt more real than destiny ever had. Yes, I said, and meant it with everything in me. Kael's hand found mine. Show us how. What happened next changed everything. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria passed the council's assessment, proved her control, and deepened her connection with Kael. But power is still growing inside her, and Alara knows there's one final level of training that could amplify her gift beyond anything they've seen, if she's brave enough to take it. Today, Aria will discover what happens when winter magic meets an alpha's power. And she'll learn that the strongest bonds aren't given by fate, they're forged through choice. Chapter 7, The Bond Amplification starts. Now. 3 months after the council's visit, I created my first ice palace. It started as a training exercise. Alara wanted me to work on large-scale construction, maintaining multiple complex structures simultaneously. But once I started building, I couldn't stop. The palace grew from the frozen ground like it had been waiting there all along, walls of crystalline ice, towers that caught and refracted sunlight, windows carved with intricate frost patterns that told stories in their designs. By the time I finished, the entire structure was the size of the pack house, beautiful and impossible and completely mine. Magnificent, Alara breathed, walking through the main hall. I've never seen construction magic this advanced. You've surpassed me, little moon. Completely and thoroughly surpassed me. It felt easy, I admitted. Like the ice wanted to become this. I just had to let it. That's mastery. When the magic flows through you so naturally that creation becomes effortless. She touched one of the walls, watched light dance through it. But there's more, isn't there? More power waiting to be unlocked. I can feel it. She was right. Despite all my training, despite how far I'd come, I could sense something deeper inside me. A well of power I hadn't tapped yet, waiting for the right trigger, the right connection. What am I missing? I asked. Alara was quiet for a long moment, considering. Then she said, "Come with me. There's something I need to show you. Something I've been waiting for the right time to reveal." She led me deep into frostpine territory, to a part of the forest I'd never explored. The trees here were ancient, their white bark glowing faintly even in daylight. The air hummed with old magic, power that predated the packs, predated even the oldest wolves. We reached a cave entrance, barely visible behind hanging ice formations that never melted despite the season. "What is this place?" I asked. "A moon-witch sanctuary. One of the few remaining places where our bloodline practiced the old magic." Alara pulled aside the ice curtain, revealing a passage that descended into darkness. "Your ancestors came here to train, to commune with winter itself, and to bond their power with their chosen partners." Bond their power? When two powerful wolves connect deeply, their gifts can amplify each other. It's rare, requires absolute trust, complete vulnerability, and a connection that goes beyond typical mate bonds. But when it works, the resulting power is exponential. She looked at me carefully. "You and Kael. You've been growing closer." It wasn't a question. Everyone in the pack had noticed how much time we spent together, how easily we moved around each other, how my magic responded to his presence with beauty instead of chaos. "We have," I admitted. "But we haven't completed a mate bond. We're taking things slow, building something without the moon's interference." "Good. That's exactly what makes this possible." Alara gestured into the cave. "The old bond amplification doesn't require a mate bond. It requires choice, trust, and emotional intimacy. From what I've observed, you and Kael have all three." My heart raced. "What exactly does this amplification do?" "It allows your powers to feed off each other. His alpha strength enhancing your ice magic. Your winter blessing amplifying his natural gifts. In combat, you'd be able to share energy, support each other's abilities. In training, you could push further than either of you could alone." She paused. "And emotionally, you'd be connected in a way that's deeper than typical pack bonds but without the life or death dependency of true mates." "That sounds incredible. What's the catch?" "The vulnerability required. To amplify your powers, you have to lower every defense. Let him see every part of you, the darkness, the pain, the fear, all of it. And he has to do the same. There's no hiding, no pretending, no masks. Just raw, honest connection." The thought terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. Letting Kael see everything, every insecurity and broken piece? That was scarier than facing the council had been. But the idea of being connected to him that deeply, of building power together through choice rather than destiny? That felt right. "I need to talk to him," I said. "I thought you might." Alara smiled. "Bring him here tomorrow at moonrise. I'll guide you through the ritual. But only if you're both certain. This kind of bond, once forged, doesn't break easily. You'd be choosing him in a way that's nearly as permanent as a mate bond, just without the moon's involvement. That night, I found Kael in his usual spot at the training circle. He was practicing forms, moving through combat sequences with lethal grace. I watched for a moment, appreciating the power in every movement, the controlled strength that defined him. You going to stand there all night, or are you going to join me? He called without turning around. I smiled and walked into the circle. How did you know I was there? I always know when you're near. You bring the temperature down just enough to notice. He turned and his expression softened when he saw me. What's on your mind? You look serious. Aria told me about something today. A bond amplification ritual. It's old magic from my bloodline that allows two wolves to connect their powers if they trust each other deeply enough. Kael's eyebrows rose. Connect our powers? Amplify them. Make each other stronger. But it requires complete vulnerability. Emotional openness. Showing each other everything, even the parts we'd rather keep hidden. I met his eyes. She thinks we could do it. That we're ready. Are we? He stepped closer. Ready for that level of connection? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I touched his chest, felt his heartbeat steady and strong under my palm. We've been building something real, something chosen. This would deepen that. Make it nearly permanent. And I need to know if that's something you want. Kael covered my hand with his, holding it against his heart. I told you 3 months ago that I was on your side. That I cared about you. That hasn't changed, Aria. If anything, it's gotten stronger. I think about you constantly. Wonder how your training is going, if you're happy, what's making you laugh on any given day. He smiled slightly. I'm pretty far gone already. Adding magical amplification to that? I'm not afraid of it. Even though it's not a mate bond? Even though the moon didn't choose this? Especially because of that. This would be ours. Something we built, something we chose. That's more powerful than any bond the moon could force on us. Warmth flooded through me and around us snow began to fall, gentle, joyful, celebrating. Then yes, let's do it. When? Tomorrow at moonrise. Aria will guide us through the ritual. I bit my lip. But Kael, you should know, this means showing you everything. The parts of me that are still broken from Marcus's rejection. The fear that I'm not enough. The darkness that comes with this much power. All of it. Good. He pulled me closer. Because I'm going to show you all my parts too. The grief I still carry over my parents. The fear that I'll fail as an alpha. The loneliness I felt before you crashed into my territory and changed everything. His lips brushed my forehead. We'll be broken together. And maybe that's exactly what makes us strong. The next day crawled by. Training with Aria felt impossible to focus on. Lunch tasted like nothing. Every minute felt like an hour as I waited for moonrise. Luna cornered me in the afternoon, her expression knowing. So, heard you and Kael are doing some kind of ancient bonding ritual tonight. News travels fast. Aria might have mentioned it. In front of everyone. At breakfast. Luna grinned. The whole pack is excited. We've never seen an alpha connect like this with someone who's not his destined mate. It's kind of romantic in a powerful magic wolves choosing each other sort of way. No pressure then. Oh, tons of pressure. But you'll be fine. You two are disgustingly perfect together. She sobered slightly. Seriously though, Aria. I'm happy for you. You deserve this. Deserve someone who sees you and chooses you every single day. Thank you. I hugged her impulsively. For everything. For accepting me, for being my friend, for making this place feel like home. That's what pack is for. Now go get ready to magically bond with our alpha. As the sun set and the moon began to rise, Kael and I walked to the cave together. Aria waited at the entrance, dressed in ceremonial whites that marked her as more than just my grandmother. She was a moon witch elder, keeper of ancient knowledge. Are you both certain? She asked formally. Yes, we answered together. Then follow me. The cave descended deeper than I'd expected, opening into a vast chamber lit by bioluminescent ice that grew from the walls. In the center, a pool of perfectly clear water reflected the moonlight streaming through an opening in the ceiling above. This is a moon pool, Aria explained, where the moon's light touches the earth's water, creating a bridge between physical and magical realms. It's the perfect place for bond amplification. She directed us to opposite sides of the pool, had us kneel facing each other across the water. The ritual is simple but intense, she said. You'll each share your deepest truth, the thing you fear most about yourself. Then you'll accept each other's truth without judgment. The moon and the pool will witness this exchange, and if your connection is real, your powers will recognize each other and bind. She stepped back, leaving us alone in the chamber except for the moonlight. Kael spoke first, his voice echoing softly off the ice walls. My deepest truth is that I'm terrified of failing the people I love. My parents died because of a mate bond one couldn't protect them from. Every person in Frostpine depends on me to keep them safe, to make the right choices. And since you came into my life, that fear has gotten worse. Because now I have something to lose again. Someone who matters more than pack politics or territory or any of it. He swallowed hard. I'm afraid that I'll let you down the way I let them down. That I won't be strong enough when you need me most. The vulnerability in his voice, the raw honesty, it cracked something open in my chest. I accept your truth, I said softly. And I see your fear. But Kael, you didn't fail your parents. The mate bond failed them. The difference matters. And you won't fail me because I'm not some fragile thing that needs constant protection. I'm strong. We're strong together. You taught me that. He nodded and I saw something release in his expression. Relief, maybe, at being seen completely and not rejected. My turn. My deepest truth is that I'm afraid I'm only valuable because of my power. That without the ice magic I'd still be the weak, unworthy wolf Marcus said I was. That everyone who accepts me now, you, Alara, the pack, they only see the Winter Witch, not Aria. And if I ever lost this gift, I'd be alone again. Rejected again. Not enough again. The words hurt to say, bringing tears to my eyes. But they were true. The fear I carried in my darkest moments, when the cold felt more real than any warmth. Kael's response was immediate and fierce. I accept your truth, and I reject it entirely. Because I saw you before anyone knew about your power, Aria. That first night by the stream, crying and broken and convinced you were nothing, I saw strength. Courage. Someone who ran instead of giving up, who crossed territories rather than accepting defeat. Your magic is incredible, but it's not what makes you valuable. Your heart is. Your determination. Your refusal to stay small for people who can't see your worth. He leaned forward. If you lost every ounce of magic tomorrow, I'd still choose you. Every single day. The tears fell then, but they weren't cold. They were warm, human, real. The moon's light intensified, flooding the chamber. The pool between us began to glow, water that had been clear now shimmering with silver and blue light. Now, Ilara's voice came from somewhere outside the light. Reach for each other. Touch hands across the water. We both extended our arms, our fingertips meeting above the glowing pool. The moment we touched, power surged, not painful but overwhelming. I felt Kael's strength flowing into me, his alpha authority and protective instincts and fierce loyalty all mixing with my ice magic. And I felt my winter blessing flowing into him, cold and beautiful and wild. The pool erupted upward, water becoming ice in midair, forming a sculpture of two wolves intertwined, one dark, one light, both stronger together than apart. Power amplified between us. I could feel Kael's heartbeat like it was my own, could sense his emotions as clearly as mine. And he could feel me, the cold inside, the power waiting, all of it open and shared. It's working, Ilara said, wonder in her voice. I've never seen an amplification this strong. Your connection is extraordinary. The energy built until I thought we might both shatter from the intensity. Then, with a final surge, it settled, not disappearing but integrating. Becoming part of us. When we finally released hands, I felt different. Stronger, yes, but also more complete. Like I'd been missing a piece and hadn't known until it clicked into place. Kael looked the same way, awed and energized and fundamentally changed. How do you feel? He asked. Like I could freeze an ocean. Or melt one if you were helping. I laughed, slightly giddy. This is incredible. I can feel your strength supporting mine. Can you feel my magic? Yes. It's like winter is humming in my bones. Not overwhelming, just present. Part of me now. He stood, offered his hand to help me up. Want to test it? We went back to the training circle, Ilara following with an expression of scientific curiosity. The rest of the pack was waiting. Apparently nobody had been able to resist watching from a distance. Show us, Luna called. Let's see what amplification looks like. Kael and I stood in the center of the circle, facing each other. Together? I asked. Together. I reached for my ice magic and he reached for his alpha power. The combination was explosive. Frost spread from both of us simultaneously, our powers feeding off each other, amplifying. A blizzard formed in seconds, but this time Kael could help me control it. His strength steadied the chaos, made the storm precise and directed. We created ice sculptures together, our powers intertwining. Built structures that neither of us could have made alone. When I formed ice spears, they were twice as strong with Kael's energy supporting them. When he exerted his alpha command, it carried the weight of winter behind it, impossible to ignore. The pack watched in amazement as we demonstrated what amplification meant, not just combined power but synergy. Each of us making the other better, stronger, more than we could be apart. When we finally stopped, exhausted and exhilarated, the training circle looked like something from a dream. Ice palaces and sculptures, frost patterns that told stories, snow that sparkled with contained power. That was... Finn trailed off, speechless. Incredible, Kara finished. You two are incredibly powerful together. Ridge approached, his emotion-sensing gift active. Your bond is fascinating. It's not a mate bond, I can tell the difference. But it's almost as strong. Just built on choice instead of destiny. I've never felt anything quite like it. Kael's arm came around me and I leaned into him, feeling the warmth of his body balancing the cold of mine. We're still us, I said. Just more connected now. Much more connected, Alara said with satisfaction. What you've achieved here is what the old moon witches spent lifetimes perfecting. Partner bonds that amplified power without the dangerous dependency of true mate bonds. You'll be able to support each other in ways most wolves can't even imagine. That night, the pack held an impromptu celebration. The bond amplification deserved recognition, apparently, especially since it proved that powerful connections could be chosen rather than destined. I found myself surrounded by well-wishers, wolves congratulating us, asking questions about how it felt, whether it changed everything. And the answer was yes and no. Yes, I felt different, stronger, more complete. But no, it hadn't changed who we were. Just deepened what we were building. Later, alone in Kael's office, we explored the bond more carefully. Discovered we could sense each other's location even at a distance. Could feel intense emotions through the connection. Could lend each other strength when one of us was depleted. This is going to take some getting used to, Kael said, pulling me into his lap. Having you in my head like this. I'm not in your head. Just connected to it. There's a difference. I traced patterns on his chest. Does it bother you? The connection? No. It's actually comforting. Like I'm not alone anymore even when I'm by myself. He tilted my chin up. Thank you. For trusting me enough to do this. For choosing me. Thank you for choosing me back. I kissed him softly. For seeing past the magic to who I really am. I see all of you. The magic and the woman. And I choose both every time. The connection hummed between us, approving, strengthening. And when we kissed again, the magic responded, not with chaos but with joy. Snow fell gently around us, ice crystals dancing, power celebrating what we'd built. We'd created something unprecedented. Not a mate bond forced by the moon, but a chosen connection amplified by magic. Partnership built on trust and vulnerability and the courage to be completely seen. And as I sat wrapped in Kael's arms with snow falling indoors and our pack celebrating beyond the walls, I realized I'd never been happier. Marcus had rejected me thinking I was weak. The council had tried to break me thinking I was unstable. But I'd proven them all wrong. I was a winter witch in full power, bonded to an alpha who chose me freely, surrounded by a pack that valued me completely. And this was only the beginning. Winter had come into its own. And nothing, not the council, not old packs, not even destiny itself, would make it retreat. Chapter 8. Aria. Marcus's voice cracked across the border clearing. Please. Just hear me out. I stood with Kael at my side, our amplified bond humming between us. Behind me the entire Frostpine pack formed a wall of support. I was no longer the broken wolf who'd fled his rejection. You had your chance to speak, I said, ice forming at my feet. 4 months ago when you chose politics over me. I don't owe you anything now. I know. But I need you to understand. He stepped forward and Kael growled, a warning that made Marcus freeze. I made a mistake. The worst mistake of my life. Around us, the temperature dropped as my power responded to old wounds reopening. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria and Kael have amplified their bond, creating a partnership built on choice rather than destiny. Aria's power has reached incredible heights, and she's finally found her place in Frostpine Pack. But the past isn't done with her yet. Today Marcus returns with regrets and revelations. And Aria will have to decide if closure means forgiveness, or if some bridges should stay burned. Chapter 8. The return starts now. 4 months after the bond amplification, I received an unexpected phone call. Aria? It's your mother. I smiled, tucking the phone between my shoulder and ear as I continued shaping ice sculptures for the PAX Winter Festival. Mom, hi. How are you? How's Silvermoon? Complicated. Her voice held a tension I recognized. Sweetheart, I need to tell you something. Marcus has been asking about you. My hand stilled. The ice sculpture I'd been working on cracked. Asking what? Everything. How you're doing, what your training looks like, whether you're happy. He's been different since you left. Distant. Distracted. Your old Alpha says he's not focusing on his duties the way he should. That's not my problem, I said, more harshly than intended. He made his choice. I know. I agree. But Aria, he's been in contact with the council. Asking about you specifically. About your assessment, your power level, your status with Frostpine Pack. Ice spread from my hands, covering the table. Why would he do that? I don't know. But I thought you should be warned. Whatever he's planning, it involves you. And it involves council connections. After we hung up, I sat staring at the frozen table, unease settling in my stomach like a stone. Marcus researching me through council channels couldn't mean anything good. Kael found me an hour later still sitting there, frost covering half the common room. What's wrong? He was beside me instantly, his hand on my back. Through our bond I felt his concern spike. I felt your distress halfway across the territory. My mother called. Marcus has been asking about me. Researching me through the council. Kael's expression darkened. Why? I don't know. But it can't be good. Over the next week, more information trickled in. Marcus had attended a council meeting as Silvermoon's representative. He'd specifically asked about procedures for challenging pack transfers. He'd inquired about bonds formed without make connection. He was looking for a way to get to me. Let him try, Luna said when we discussed it over dinner. You're Frostpine now. Under Kael's protection. Marcus has no authority here. Unless he finds a loophole, Finn pointed out. The council loves loopholes. And if Marcus has connections there, he could make trouble. Alara was less concerned. Let the boy come. Let him see what you've become. Let him see what he lost. Her smile was cold. Nothing would give me more satisfaction than watching you demonstrate exactly how much you've surpassed his small-minded expectations. 2 days later, a formal request arrived. Marcus Blackwood was asking permission to enter Frostpine territory to speak with me. The request cited unfinished pack business, and came with Elder Mortimer's signature as a council endorsement. Absolutely not, Kael said immediately. He doesn't get to come here and upset you. Actually, I said slowly, an idea forming, maybe he should. Everyone turned to stare at me. Hear me out. Marcus clearly has regrets. Clearly wants something. And as long as that's unresolved, he's going to keep digging, keep using council connections, keep being a potential problem. I met Kael's eyes. But if he comes here, sees me in my element, sees what I've become and who I've chosen, maybe he'll finally let go. Finally accept that we're done. Or he'll try to manipulate you, Kael countered. Remind you of what you had together, play on old feelings. I don't have old feelings. Not anymore. I took his hand, felt our bond pulse with certainty. I have new ones. Better ones. And Marcus needs to see that. Needs to understand that his rejection was the best thing that ever happened to me. Kael studied me for a long moment, then sighed. If this is what you want, we'll do it. But on our terms. He comes here to our territory. Meets with you in front of the pack. No private conversations, no opportunities for manipulation. And if he steps out of line even once, he leaves. Agreed. Agreed. The meeting was set for 3 days later. Marcus would come with 2 witnesses, protocol for interpack meetings, and I would meet him at the border with Kael and my own witnesses. Those 3 days felt longer than the entire 4 months since I'd left Silvermoon. Stop overthinking it, Luna said the night before, finding me pacing in my room. You're going to be fine. You're going to walk in there looking like the ice queen you are, with your alpha bonded partner beside you, and Marcus is going to realize he lost the best thing that ever happened to him. End of story. What if seeing him brings back the pain? What if the bond tries to? The mate bond is broken, Aria. Shattered. It can't come back even if you both wanted it to. Which you don't. She grabbed my shoulders. You have nothing to fear from Marcus. Nothing. You're more powerful than he ever imagined. You're partnered with an alpha who actually deserves you. And you're surrounded by a pack that would go to war for you. You hold all the cards here. She was right. I knew she was right. But old wounds have a way of aching when you least expect it. That night I couldn't sleep. I found Kael in the training circle, our spot now where we'd had so many important conversations. Nervous? He asked as I settled beside him. Terrified, I admitted. Not of Marcus specifically. Just of, what if seeing him reminds me of who I was before? That weak, desperate girl who would have done anything for his approval? That girl died the night he rejected her, Kael said firmly. She was reborn as something stronger. Something fierce and beautiful and impossible to control. Marcus doesn't get to have power over you anymore, Aria. You took that power back the moment you chose to stay here. What if he tries to apologize? Tries to explain? Then you listen if you want to or you don't. It's your choice. Everything is your choice now. He pulled me close. But remember, whatever he says, whatever regrets he has, they don't change what he did. They don't erase the public humiliation or the bond breaking or the months you spent rebuilding yourself without him. I nodded against his chest, drawing comfort from his solid presence and the bond humming between us. Will you be okay watching me talk to him? I asked. Through the bond you'll feel whatever I feel, including any residual pain or anger. I can handle it, and honestly, I want to be there for all of it. The pain, the anger, the closure, whatever you need to process, we process together. That's what the bond is for. The next morning dawned clear and cold. I dressed carefully, dark jeans, a deep blue sweater, my hair pulled back to show the snowflake pendant Alara had given me. I looked powerful, controlled, nothing like the broken girl in the torn ceremonial dress from 4 months ago. Kael met me downstairs dressed in formal blacks, his alpha authority on full display. Luna, Finn, and Alara would accompany us as witnesses, with the rest of the pack watching from a respectful distance. The drive to the border was quiet. Through the bond, I felt Kael's protective instincts running high, his determination to keep me safe from any emotional damage Marcus might try to inflict. Marcus was already waiting when we arrived, and seeing him sent an unexpected jolt through me. Not attraction or longing, just shock at how different he looked. Thinner, tired, with dark circles under his eyes and a haunted expression that aged him beyond his years. Beside him stood Beta James and another warrior I recognized from Silvermoon. Both looked uncomfortable, like they didn't want to be here. Aria, Marcus said, his voice rough. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I didn't do it for you, I said coolly. I did it so we can resolve whatever this is and move on with our lives. He flinched. Fair enough. Can we talk? Just the two of us? No. Kael's voice was firm. Anything you have to say to Aria you can say in front of witnesses. Those are the terms. Marcus's eyes flicked to Kael, and something painful crossed his expression. Recognition, maybe, of the bond between us. Of what he'd lost and what I'd found. Fine. Okay. He took a breath. Aria, I came to apologize. Not because I think it will change anything, but because you deserve to hear it. I was wrong. About everything. About you being weak, about your bloodline matching, about putting the council's opinion over what my wolf knew was right. I made the worst mistake of my life when I rejected you. You already apologized, I said. The day after, when you found out about my magic. This isn't new. No, but I need you to understand why I'm apologizing now. It's not because of your power. It's not because you turned out to be useful or impressive or politically valuable. His voice cracked. It's because I miss you. Every day I miss you. The way you laughed at my terrible jokes. The way you always believed in me even when I doubted myself. The way you made everything better just by being there. Old pain flickered through me, but it was distant now. Like remembering a scar instead of feeling the wound. I miss who I thought you were, I said quietly. But that person never really existed. You were always someone who would put politics over people. I just didn't want to see it. I've changed. The last 4 months, losing you, watching you thrive somewhere else. It changed me. I've been working on myself, going to therapy, trying to understand why I did what I did. He stepped forward and immediately Kael tensed. I know I don't deserve a second chance. I know I hurt you in ways I can't take back. But I need to try. Need to ask if there's any possibility, any chance at all that we could. No. The word was absolute, cold as winter. There's no chance. We're done, Marcus. We were done the moment you rejected the bond. But I was wrong. I admitted it, I apologized, I've done the work to become better. For yourself. You did that work for yourself. Not for me. Because I wasn't there. I let frost spread from my feet, watched him track its movement. You don't get to become a better person and expect me to reward you with reconciliation. That's not how this works. Then what do you want from me? What can I do to make this right? Accept that it's over. Accept that you lost me. And move on with your life. I gestured to Kael. I have. Marcus's eyes followed my gesture, and I watched realization settle over his features. You're bonded. Not mate bonded, but something else. Something I can see even if I don't understand it. We chose each other, Kael said simply. No moon, no destiny, no politics. Just two wolves who decided to build something together. That was supposed to be us, Marcus said, his voice hollow. We were supposed to build something together. We would have if you'd chosen me. But you didn't. You chose your position, your reputation, what the council would think. So I chose myself. Chose my power, my training, my happiness. And eventually I chose him. I met Marcus's eyes steadily. I don't regret any of it. I'm happier now than I ever was in Silvermoon. Stronger. More myself. Your rejection was the best thing that could have happened to me. The words landed like physical blows. I saw Marcus flinch, saw pain cross his features, saw the final death of whatever hope he'd been carrying. I understand, he said finally. I don't like it, but I understand. You've moved on. Built a new life. Found someone who actually deserves you. He looked at Kael. Take care of her. She's more precious than you know. I know exactly how precious she is, Kael said. That's why I chose her. The subtle dig, I chose her unlike you, wasn't lost on anyone. Marcus nodded slowly, then turned to me one last time. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Of what you've become. The council talks about you, about your power. They're both fascinated and afraid. And I think part of them wonders if rejecting you was my biggest mistake. Not for me but for Silvermoon. We lost something irreplaceable when you left. You did, I agreed. But I gained everything. So I think it worked out exactly how it was supposed to. We stood there for another moment, the full weight of finality settling over all of us. This was closure. Real, permanent closure. Goodbye, Marcus, I said softly. I hope you find happiness. I really do. Just not with me. Goodbye, Aria. He started to turn away, then paused. One more thing. The council, they're planning something. Elder Mortimer has been asking questions about amplified bonds, about winter witches, about your specific power level. I don't know what he's planning, but be careful. They're interested in you, and that's never a good thing. The warning sent ice through my veins. Why are you telling me this? Because I might have been a terrible mate, but I'm not a terrible person. And I don't want to see you get caught up in council politics. You deserve better than that. He met my eyes. You always deserved better than me. Then he was gone, walking back to his truck with his witnesses, leaving us standing at the border. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Through the bond, I felt Kael's relief mixing with new concern about Marcus's warning. You okay? He asked quietly. Yeah. Actually, I am. I turned to face him fully. That was closure. Real closure. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I just don't feel anything for him anymore. He's part of my past, not my future. Good. Kael pulled me close and I felt the bond settle, content. And the council warning? We'll deal with it if it becomes a problem. I looked up at him. But right now I just want to go home. To our pack. Our territory. Where I belong. Home it is. As we drove back to Frostpine, Luna leaned forward from the back seat. So, that was intense. How do you feel? Lighter, I said honestly. Like I've been carrying this weight of unfinished business and now it's gone. Marcus apologized, I acknowledged it, and we both moved on. Cling. Final. He looked terrible, Finn observed. Like he hasn't slept in months. Good, Ilara said with no sympathy. Let him suffer. Actions have consequences, and his consequence is losing you. He'll survive. And maybe next time he'll think twice before publicly humiliating his mate. That night, the pack threw another impromptu celebration. This time for closure, for moving forward, for choosing happiness over obligation. The gifted wolves created entertainment with their powers, Finn shadow dancing while I made ice sculptures that told the story of my journey from rejection to power. Later, alone with Kael in his room, I finally let myself process everything. Did you feel it through the bond? I asked, curled against his side. When I saw Marcus. When he apologized. I felt sadness. Not for him but for who you'd been back then. The girl who loved him so completely. He stroked my hair. But I also felt your strength. Your certainty. You never wavered. Never doubted that you'd made the right choice. Because I did. Being here with you with this pack, it's right. It's home. Marcus was a chapter in my story, but you're... I paused, searching for the right words. What? His voice was gentle. What am I? You're the rest of the book. The adventure I want to have. The partner I choose every day. I propped myself up to look at him. I love you, Kael. Not because a bond forced it. Not because the moon decided it. Just because you're you and I'm me and together we're something incredible. His eyes widened. You love me? Yes. Is that okay? Okay. He laughed, pulled me down for a kiss that was both tender and passionate. Aria, I've loved you since you stood up to the council without backing down. Since you created your first blizzard. Since you chose to stay here and build something with me. Another kiss. I love you. Completely. Unconditionally. Forever if you'll have me. Forever sounds good, I whispered against his lips. Around us snow began to fall, gentle, joyful, celebrating. The magic responded to our emotions, to the love we were declaring, to the choice we were making. We'd both been broken by mate bonds that didn't work. Both carried scars from love that hurt more than it healed. But together we were building something different. Something chosen. Something that made us stronger instead of weaker. And as Kael made love to me slowly, tenderly, with our bond humming between us and snow falling all around, I knew I'd found exactly where I belonged. Not with the mate the moon had chosen, but with the partner I'd chosen for myself. And that made all the difference. Chapter 9. You can't win this, Elder Mortimer said calmly as his enforcement team surrounded us. 6 wolves with suppression collars, 3 with weapons I didn't recognize. You're powerful, Miss Winters, but you're outnumbered. Come quietly and no one gets hurt. I felt Kael's rage through our bond, felt the pack preparing to fight. Around me the temperature plummeted. You're right, I said softly. I can't win this. But that's only if I'm trying to control it. I let go. Completely. Winter itself answered. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria has closure with Marcus, declared her love for Kael, and built a life she never imagined possible. But Marcus's warning about the council wasn't idle. Elder Mortimer has been planning. And today he makes his move. What happens when a winter witch stops holding back? When she stops trying to be controlled and controlled? When fury and ice and righteous anger combine into something the council never anticipated? Today, Aria becomes what she was always meant to be, winter incarnate. Chapter 9, Winter's Fury starts, now. 2 weeks after Marcus's visit, the council returned. But this time they didn't call ahead. Didn't request permission. Didn't follow protocol. They simply showed up at dawn with an enforcement team. I was in the training circle with Alara when they arrived, 6 black SUVs rolling up the drive with clear hostile intent. Alarms immediately sounded throughout the pack house. Intruders, territory breach, everyone to defensive positions. It's the council, Luna's voice crackled over the pack link. Armed enforcement team. This isn't a social call. Kael was beside me in seconds, the bond pulsing with protective fury. Stay behind me. No. I stepped forward. If they're here for me, hiding won't help. Elder Mortimer emerged from the lead vehicle, flanked by 12 enforcers, more than double what he'd brought for the assessment. All of them carried weapons I'd never seen before. Metallic devices that hummed with some kind of energy, collars that looked designed for suppression. Alpha Stormwood, Elder Mortimer called formally. Stand aside. We're here for Aria Winters. On what grounds? Kael's voice carried absolute alpha authority. She passed your assessment. You cleared her for independent operation. Circumstances have changed. We've received reports of dangerous power escalation, unsanctioned bond amplification, and credible intelligence that Miss Winters poses a significant threat to wolf communities if left untrained and unmonitored. He held up an official-looking document. The council has voted. She's to come into protective custody for advanced assessment and potential containment. Protective custody? I stepped forward, ice already forming at my feet. You mean imprisonment? We mean protection. For you and for everyone around you. Elder Mortimer's expression was cold, calculating. Your power has grown exponentially in a short time. Without proper council oversight, you're a liability. We're here to correct that. She's under my protection, Kael growled. You're not taking her anywhere. We have council authority. I don't care about your authority. This is my territory. My pack. And she's mine. The air shimmered with Kael's alpha power. Leave. Now. Or face the consequences. Elder Mortimer sighed like this was all very tedious. We anticipated resistance. Hence the enforcement team. He nodded to his wolves. Subdue the alpha. Non-lethal force. Then secure the witch. Everything happened at once. The enforcers moved with military precision, half targeting Kael, half advancing on me. The Frostpine pack erupted from the pack house. Luna leading warriors, the gifted wolves right behind her. Alara stepped in front of me, power radiating from her ancient frame. "You'll have to go through me first," she said coldly. "If necessary." Elder Mortimer nodded to two enforcers carrying the strange collars. "The suppression devices will work on her too. She's old but not immune to technology." I felt rage surge through me, not just mine but Kael's, through our bond, amplifying, feeding off each other. How dare they threaten Alara? How dare they come into our home and try to take us by force? The temperature dropped 20 degrees in seconds. "Nobody touches my grandmother," I said, my voice carrying the weight of winter. "Nobody." Ice exploded outward from where I stood, a wave of frost that caught three enforcers mid-stride and froze them in place. Not enough to kill but enough to immobilize. The others scrambled back, raising their weapons. "Suppression collars now," Elder Mortimer ordered. Two enforcers rushed forward with the humming devices. I sent ice spears at them, but the weapons they carried emitted some kind of energy field that shattered my ice before it could connect. "The collars disrupt magical frequencies," Elder Mortimer explained calmly. "Technology developed specifically to contain gifted wolves. You can't fight them, Miss Winters. You're out of options." Kael roared, shifting mid-leap to wolf form and taking down two enforcers. Luna and her warriors joined the fray, the entire Frostpine pack engaging the Council's team. But they were outnumbered and the enforcers had technology we didn't. One of them got close enough to Alara to snap a collar around her neck. Immediately, her power dampened, flickering like a candle in wind. She gasped, falling to her knees. "Grandmother!" I screamed. "Aria, run," she managed. "Don't let them." An enforcer hit her with some kind of stun device. She collapsed, unconscious. White-hot fury consumed me. They'd hurt my grandmother. They'd attacked my pack. They were trying to take my freedom, my power, everything I'd fought to build. No, absolutely not. "You can't win this," Elder Mortimer said calmly as his team surrounded me. 6 wolves with suppression collars, 3 with weapons I didn't recognize. "You're powerful, Miss Winters, but you're outnumbered. Come quietly and no one gets hurt." I felt Kael's rage through our bond, felt the pack preparing to fight to the death rather than let them take me. Around me the temperature plummeted. "You're right," I said softly. "I can't win this. But that's only if I'm trying to control it." Alara's training echoed in my mind. "You are not the cold. You are winter itself." I stopped trying to control the magic. Stopped trying to direct it, shape it, contain it. I let go. Completely. And winter answered. The sky darkened instantly, heavy clouds rolling in from nowhere. Wind howled through Frostpine territory with gale force. And snow, not gentle flakes, but a blizzard so intense that visibility dropped to 0 in seconds. The temperature didn't just drop. It plummeted to Arctic levels. Frost spread across everything: ground, trees, vehicles, buildings. Ice formed so fast and thick that the enforcers' weapons began to malfunction, their technology unable to cope with the extreme cold. "What?" Elder Mortimer started, but his words were lost in the howling wind. I stood at the center of the storm, calm while chaos raged around me. I could feel every snowflake, every gust of wind, every degree of temperature drop. The magic wasn't just coming from me, it was me. I was the blizzard, the cold, the fury of winter unleashed. Through our bond, I felt Kael's power feeding into mine, amplifying what I was already doing. His strength stabilized my fury, made the chaos directed instead of random. Together we were unstoppable. The enforcers tried to reach me through the blizzard, but ice formed barriers in their path. When they tried to use their weapons, frost shorted out the circuits. When they shifted to wolf form for better navigation, the cold was too intense. Even wolves couldn't function in temperatures this extreme. One by one they retreated to the vehicles, seeking shelter. Only Elder Mortimer remained standing in the storm, his expression shocked. "This is impossible. No one witch has this much power." "I'm not just one witch." My voice carried over the wind, cold and absolute. "I'm generations of moon witches. I'm winter magic amplified by an alpha bond. I'm every wolf you've ever tried to suppress or control, fighting back." Ice spears formed around me, dozens of them, all pointed at him. "And I'm done being afraid of what I can do." "You're proving our point," he shouted. "This level of power, uncontrolled, dangerous. I am in control. Perfect control. Watch." The blizzard stopped. Instantly. The wind died, the snow ceased falling, and the temperature rose back to normal, all in the space of a breath. The only evidence of what I'd done was the several inches of snow covering everything and the frost-covered enforcers huddled in their vehicles. "That's control," I said quietly. unleashing winter and calling it back at will. Not chaos. Not danger. Power used with precision and purpose. Elder Mortimer stared at me, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw fear in his eyes. Real, genuine fear. You could have killed us all, he said. I could have. But I didn't. Because unlike you, I don't attack people just because I have the power to do so. I defend. I protect. I choose when and how to use my gift. I let ice form in my palm, shaped it into a perfect snowflake. That's what you should have been testing for all along. Not whether I have power, but whether I have the wisdom to wield it responsibly. Kael shifted back to human form and came to stand beside me, unconcerned with his nakedness in the cold. His hand found mine, and the bond between us hummed with shared satisfaction. Your enforcement team is frozen and afraid, he said to Elder Mortimer. Your weapons don't work in extreme cold. Your suppression collars can't function when the air itself is too cold for technology. You came here to take Aria by force and she just demonstrated that's impossible. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to take your team and leave. You're going to report back to the council that Aria Winters is not a threat, she's a force of nature. And you're going to recommend they leave her and Frostpine Pack alone. Permanently. And if we refuse? Then next time I won't pull the blizzard back, I said softly. Next time I'll let winter have you. And trust me, Elder, winter is far less merciful than I am. The threat hung in the frozen air. Elder Mortimer looked around at his disabled team, at the pack warriors surrounding them, at Alara who was being helped to her feet with Luna's assistance. He was completely outmaneuvered. This isn't over, he said finally. The council won't accept. The council will accept whatever they have to accept, Alara interrupted, her voice weak but fierce. Because if they try this again I'll reveal everything. Every dark secret, every hunter squad, every gifted wolf they've eliminated over the centuries. I've kept records, Mortimer. Detailed records. And I'll expose all of it if you ever threaten my granddaughter again. His face went pale. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I faked my own death to escape you people. You think I won't burn your entire organization down to protect what's mine? She walked forward, still unsteady, until she was right in his face. Leave. Now. And tell the council that the moon witches are done hiding. Done being hunted. Done being controlled. We're here, we're powerful, and we're not going anywhere. Elder Mortimer looked between us. Me with winter at my command, Kael with alpha authority radiating from him, Alara with centuries of knowledge and dangerous secrets. He was beaten and he knew it. Remove the collar from the elder, he ordered his team quietly. We're leaving. One enforcer approached cautiously and removed the suppression collar from Alara's neck. The moment it was off, her power flared back to life and she straightened with dignity. The council team gathered their equipment and loaded into the vehicles, moving with the quiet efficiency of a defeated force. Elder Mortimer was the last to leave, pausing at his SUV door. You've made an enemy of the council today, he said. No, I corrected. You made an enemy of winter. There's a difference. He drove away without another word, the 6 black SUVs disappearing down the drive and off Frostpine territory. The moment they were gone, my legs gave out. Kael caught me, held me as the adrenaline crash hit. Through our bond, I felt his exhaustion too, amplifying my power had taken a toll on him as well. You did it, he murmured into my hair. You faced down the council and won. We did it, I corrected. I couldn't have maintained that level of power without you supporting it through the bond. The pack erupted in cheers around us. Luna was grinning like a maniac, Finn was whooping, and even the normally reserved warriors were celebrating. They just watched their winter witch send the council running. That was the most terrifying and incredible thing I've ever seen, Luna said, helping us both to our feet. You literally created a blizzard in seconds. I thought we were all going to freeze. I wouldn't have hurt the pack. I had control the whole time. I looked at Alara. Are you okay? That collar? Hurt like hell, but I'll survive. They've been developing that technology for years, trying to find ways to suppress us. She smiled fiercely. But they didn't account for you. For someone with power that surpasses their ability to contain it. Over the next few hours, we assessed the damage. A few injuries from the brief fighting, nothing serious. Some frost damage to vehicles and equipment, but nothing that couldn't be repaired. And most importantly, everyone was safe. That night, after everything had settled, I found Kael on the pack house balcony, staring out at the snow-covered territory. Thinking about today? I asked, joining him. Thinking about what comes next. The council won't accept this. They'll regroup, plan, try again with different tactics. Let them try. They saw what I can do. What we can do together. I leaned against him. I'm not afraid of them anymore. You should be, a little. Fear keeps you sharp. He pulled me close. But I'm proud of you. The way you handled that, the restraint, the precision, the control even in the middle of fury. You proved everything they believed about you was wrong. I proved everything I believed about me was wrong too, I said quietly. I spent so long thinking I was weak, that I needed to be small and controlled to be safe. But today I learned something. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop holding back. Stop apologizing for what you are. Stop letting fear dictate your limits. That's what I've been trying to tell you for months. I know. I just needed to learn it for myself. I turned to face him. Thank you. For the bond, for the amplification, for believing I could do this even when I wasn't sure. Always. He kissed me softly. Though I have to admit, watching you command an actual blizzard while threatening a council elder was incredibly attractive. Is that weird? I laughed. Maybe a little. But I'll take it. We stood there for a while, wrapped in each other in comfortable silence. Below us, the pack was celebrating, the victory, the safety, the fact that we'd stood up to the council and won. But I knew this was just the beginning. Elder Mortimer's parting words echoed in my mind. You've made an enemy of the council. Maybe I had. But they'd made an enemy of Winter. And Winter, as they were about to learn, never retreated. Never surrendered. Never apologized for the cold. It simply was. Powerful and beautiful and utterly uncompromising. Just like me. Beautiful soul, if you're feeling the pull of this journey, if Aria's transformation is stirring something in your own heart, then stay with us. Because what's coming next will test everything she's learned. She's faced rejection, mastered her power, and sent the council running. But Winter's greatest challenge isn't behind her. It's ahead. The council will regroup. Enemies will emerge. And Aria will have to decide what kind of witch she wants to be. One who hides her power or one who wields it without apology. The real battle hasn't even begun, and you won't want to miss a single moment of what happens when the council returns with their full force. Continue to Chapter 10, and let's walk together into the storm that's gathering on the horizon. Chapter 10. It's called a bond breaker, Elder Mortimer said, holding up a device that pulsed with sickly energy. Specifically designed to sever amplified bonds. We've been developing it for centuries, waiting for a pair powerful enough to test it on. Pain exploded through me and Kael simultaneously as the device activated. It felt like someone was tearing my soul apart from the inside. Stop. I screamed, ice erupting chaotically around me. You're killing us. Not killing. Separating. Your power comes from your connection. Without it, you're just another gifted wolf we can control. Through the agony, I felt Kael's determination through the bond. Hold on. I've got you. Don't let go. I wouldn't. Not ever. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria defeated the council's enforcement team, proved her power beyond question, and made it clear that Winter bows to no one. But the council has been planning for centuries, developing weapons against wolves like her. And they're not done yet. Today they return with something Aria never anticipated, a device that can break the one thing that makes her strongest. And she'll have to choose between her power and her heart. Chapter 10, The Bond Breaker starts. Now. The week after the council's defeat should have been peaceful. Should have been a time to recover, celebrate, strengthen our defenses. Instead, it was the calm before a worse storm. Reports started coming in from other packs. Council representatives visiting, asking questions about gifted wolves, making veiled threats about proper oversight, and mandatory registration. They were testing boundaries, seeing how far they could push before facing resistance. They're building a case, Alara said during a strategy meeting. Documenting every gifted wolf, every amplified bond, every manifestation of power. They're preparing for something big. A purge, Luna said grimly. Like the old days. Systematic elimination of anyone they can't control. They won't get that far, Kael said firmly. We'll warn the other packs, form alliances, create a united front. But I could feel his worry through our bond. The council had resources we couldn't match, political power that spanned all wolf territories. If they decided to move against gifted wolves en masse, stopping them would be nearly impossible. I spent every spare moment training, pushing my limits, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Alara taught me advanced techniques, how to freeze large areas instantly, how to create ice constructs that could fight independently, how to weaponize snow itself. You're getting stronger every day, she observed after I successfully created 3 ice warriors that moved on their own. At this rate, you'll surpass anything the council has seen in centuries. Will that be enough? Against their enforcers? Yes. Against their full resources and political power? She paused. I don't know, Little Moon. I honestly don't know. 2 weeks after the confrontation, a package arrived at the pack house. No return address, just a council seal and my name. Inside was a single object, a metallic device about the size of a fist, covered in intricate symbols that seemed to pulse with dark energy. And a note in Elder Mortimer's precise handwriting. Miss Winters, the council has voted. Your continued existence as a free agent poses an unacceptable risk to Wolf Society. However, we recognize that direct confrontation has proven ineffective. Therefore, we're offering a choice. Surrender yourself for proper containment and training, or face the consequences of continued resistance. You have 3 days to decide. Consider this device a demonstration of what those consequences might entail. It's called a bond breaker. We'll be in touch. Elder Mortimer. What the hell is a bond breaker? Luna asked, staring at the device from a safe distance. Ilara's face had gone pale. It's old technology. Very old. I thought the council had destroyed all of them centuries ago. What does it do? Kael asked, but I could feel his dread through our bond. He already suspected. It severs amplified bonds. Permanently. Ilara couldn't look at us. When two wolves create a bond like yours, it becomes a source of power. But it's also a vulnerability. That device can target the connection between you and rip it apart. My blood ran cold. You mean it would break our bond? The one we chose. Not just break it. Destroy it. The connection would be gone, and with it, the amplification. You'd both be weaker, more vulnerable. And the pain. She swallowed hard. I've seen it used once a long time ago. The wolves it was used on screamed for days. The psychological trauma alone took years to heal, if it ever did. Kael's arms came around me, his touch grounding. They're trying to intimidate us. Make us afraid of what they might do. It's working, I admitted quietly. The thought of losing our bond, of losing the connection that had become as essential as breathing, it terrified me more than any physical threat. We don't respond to threats, Kael said firmly. We don't negotiate with the council. And we certainly don't surrender just because they've threatened us. Then they'll use it, Ilara said. They'll come here, activate that device, and tear your bond apart just to prove they can. To make an example of you. Let them try. Kael's voice was steel. We've faced them before. We'll face them again. But through our bond, I felt his fear matching mine. This wasn't a fight we could win with power or strategy. This was an attack on something fundamental, something we couldn't shield or defend against. The 3 days passed too quickly. We fortified the territory, called in favors from allied packs, prepared for battle. But everyone knew that if the council brought the bond breaker, no amount of military preparation would matter. On the morning of the 3rd day they came. Not with an enforcement team this time. Just Elder Mortimer, 2 bodyguards, and a carrying case that I knew contained the device. They stopped at the border and requested a meeting, formal, proper, following all protocols. It's a trap, Luna said immediately. They want you to come to them so they can use that thing. If we don't go, they'll claim we're refusing council authority. Give them justification for whatever they're planning next. Kael looked at me. We go. Together. We face this like we face everything else. The border meeting happened at noon with both packs watching from a distance. Elder Mortimer stood with the carrying case at his feet, his expression neutral. Miss Winters. Alpha Stormwood. Thank you for coming. Get to the point, Kael growled. What do you want? The same thing we've always wanted, compliance. Miss Winters is too powerful to remain unsupervised. Her recent display proved that beyond doubt. So we're offering one final choice. Surrender yourself for council oversight, or we demonstrate what happens to wolves who refuse. I'm not surrendering, I said flatly. Not to you, not to anyone. Then I'm afraid we'll have to make an example. Elder Mortimer opened the case, revealing the bond breaker. Up close, it was worse than I'd imagined. Metal twisted into shapes that hurt to look at, symbols that seemed to writhe, energy that felt wrong on every level. Don't you dare, Kael stepped forward, alpha power radiating. You use that thing and You'll what? Attack a council elder? That's grounds for territory seizure, Alpha. Your entire pack would suffer for your actions. Elder Mortimer lifted the device. This is happening. The only question is whether you make it harder on yourselves by resisting. He activated it. Bang. Immediate, absolute, soul-deep pain. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and was pulling out something vital, something that was supposed to be permanent. Through the bond, I felt Kael's agony mirroring mine, amplifying it. We both dropped to our knees, screaming. The bond between us began to fray. I could feel it tearing, threads of connection that we'd built through trust and vulnerability and choice, all of it unraveling under the device's assault. No, I thought desperately. No, no, no. Hold on, Kael's voice came through the bond, weak but determined. Don't let go. I've got you. I've got you too, I sent back, clinging to our connection with everything I had. The device pulsed harder. Pain intensified. Around us, ice was forming chaotically, my power responding to distress, trying to protect me but not knowing how. Frost spread in jagged patterns, snow fell in angry bursts, temperature dropped and spiked randomly. Stop fighting it, Elder Mortimer said clinically. The more you resist, the worse the pain. Just let the bond break. It will be over quickly. Go to hell, Kael managed through gritted teeth. I felt our bond stretching, ready to snap. In desperation, I reached for my magic, not to attack but to protect. To shield what mattered most. Ice formed around our connection, crystalline armor protecting the threads that bound us. The bond breaker pushed against it, trying to shatter my defense, but I poured more power into it. Everything I had, everything I'd learned, all focused on one purpose, keeping our bond intact. The device whined, struggling against my magic. Elder Mortimer's expression shifted from confident to concerned. That's not possible. The bond breaker can't be blocked. You said it yourself, I gasped through the pain. I'm more powerful than anything you've seen in centuries. Did you really think your weapon would work on me? I pulled more cold from the air, from the earth, from winter itself. Channeled it all into protecting our bond, into keeping the connection alive despite the device's assault. And slowly, impossibly, I started to win. The bond breaker's energy began to falter. The symbols on its surface flickered. The wrong-feeling power that emanated from it started to weaken. She's overcoming it, one of the bodyguards said, shocked. The device is failing. Impossible, Elder Mortimer repeated, but he was watching me with growing fear. No one has ever. With a final surge of ice magic, I shattered the bond breaker's attack completely. The device sparked, smoked, and went dead in Elder Mortimer's hands. The pain stopped. I gasped, checking the bond immediately. It was still there, battered, strained, but intact. Oh, we'd held on. You okay? Kael asked through our connection. Better than okay. We just did the impossible. I stood slowly, frost spreading from my feet in intricate patterns. The chaos of my earlier magic had settled into something controlled, purposeful, and infinitely more threatening. Your device is broken, I said quietly. Your weapon failed. And now I'm going to show you what happens when you try to destroy what I love. Temperature plummeted. Not just cold, Arctic, absolute zero cold that turned the air itself into frost. Elder Mortimer and his bodyguards scrambled backward as ice began to form on their skin, their clothes, their weapons. Wait, Elder Mortimer started. No. You waited. You calculated. You brought a weapon designed to tear apart the most precious thing in my life. You tried to break me by breaking my bond with Kael. Ice spears formed around me, dozens of them, all pointed at the council members. Now you face the consequences. Aria, Kael's hand on my shoulder, his voice gentle. Don't let them make you into the monster they claim you are. He was right. I wanted to hurt them, wanted to freeze them solid for daring to attack our bond. But killing council members would make everything worse, would justify their fears, would turn me into the threat they'd always said I was. I pulled the cold back, dismissed the ice spears, let the temperature rise to merely uncomfortable instead of lethal. Leave, I said. Take your broken weapon and go. Tell the council that the bond breaker doesn't work on me. Tell them I could have killed you all just now and chose not to. Tell them that if they ever threaten my bond, my pack, or my freedom again, next time I won't be so merciful. Elder Mortimer clutched the smoking device, his expression a mixture of fear and frustration. You're making a mistake. The council won't tolerate. I don't care what the council tolerates, I interrupted. Here's what I tolerate, my pack, my freedom, my choices. Everything else? That's negotiable. But those three things? Those are non-negotiable. And anyone who tries to take them from me, council elder or not, will learn exactly how cold winter can be. They left without another word, scrambling into their vehicle and driving away with none of the dignity they'd arrived with. The moment they were gone, both packs erupted in celebration. We'd faced the bond breaker and survived. More than survived, we'd defeated it. But as Kael pulled me close and I felt our bond settling, recovering from the assault, I knew this wasn't over. Elder Mortimer's parting look had been clear. This was a setback, not a defeat. The council would regroup. Plan. Return with something worse. And next time, I might not be strong enough to protect what mattered. That night, alone with Kael in his room, we assessed the damage to our bond. It was still there, still strong, but there were new scars. Places where the bond breaker had nearly succeeded, where our connection had come close to severing. We almost lost this, I whispered, tracing patterns on his chest. We almost lost each other. But we didn't. We held on. His arms tightened around me. You were incredible today, Aria. The way you shielded our bond with your magic, I've never seen anything like it. I was terrified. When that device activated, when I felt our connection starting to tear, I thought I'd lose you. Lose us. I couldn't let that happen. So you did the impossible. Again. He kissed my forehead. You're collecting quite a list of impossible things. Creating blizzards, defeating council weapons, protecting bonds that supposedly can't be protected. I had help. Your strength through the bond gave me something to anchor to. Without you supporting me, I couldn't have held it together. That's what the bond is for. We support each other. Make each other stronger. He pulled back to look at me. But Aria, we need to talk about what comes next. The council saw you break their weapon. They won't stop. They'll escalate. I know. I've been thinking about this all evening. They'll come with more weapons, more enforcers, more tactics designed to separate us or suppress my power. Eventually they might succeed. So what do we do? I took a breath, the idea that had been forming crystallizing into certainty. We stop playing defense. Stop waiting for them to attack and then responding. We go on offense. Meaning? Meaning we expose them. Like Alara threatened. We reveal their hunter squads, their suppression of gifted wolves, their systematic elimination of anyone too powerful to control. We make them the villains instead of us. Kael was quiet for a moment, considering. That's dangerous. The council has been operating in secret for centuries. They won't take exposure well. No. But what choice do we have? Keep hiding, keep defending, keep waiting for them to find a weapon that finally works? Or fight back in a way they don't expect? You're talking about war. Political war, but war nonetheless. I'm talking about freedom. For me, for every gifted wolf, for anyone who doesn't fit their definition of controlled and manageable. I sat up, looking at him seriously. Kael, I'm tired of being afraid. Tired of living under the threat of what they might do next. I want to build something better. A world where wolves like me don't have to hide or apologize for their power. His expression softened. That's a beautiful dream. It's more than a dream. It's a plan. And I think with the right allies, with Alara's evidence, with other gifted wolves standing up, we could actually do it. You want to start a revolution. I want to start a renaissance. A rebirth of magic in the wolf community, free from council control. I took his hands. But I can't do it alone. I need you. Need your alpha authority, your political connections, your pack support. You have all of that. You've always had it. He pulled me back down, held me close. Aria Winters, Winter Witch and Revolutionary. The council has no idea what they've created. Good. Let's keep it that way until we're ready. We spent the rest of the night planning, strategizing, imagining what a world without council oppression might look like. By the time dawn broke, we had the beginning of a movement. But as I drifted off to sleep in Kael's arms, our bond humming peacefully between us, I couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was still to come. The council had failed to break our bond. Next time they'd try to break something else. And I'd have to be ready. Chapter 11. You can't do this, a smaller Pax Alpha said, fear and hope warring in his voice. The council will destroy us all for defying them. They'll destroy us anyway if we keep living in fear, I replied, standing before the gathering of 50 alphas, gifted wolves and rebels. I'm offering sanctuary. Protection. A place where your magic isn't a death sentence. Where you don't have to hide what you are. Behind me, the ice palace I'd built glittered in the moonlight, proof of what was possible when power was embraced instead of suppressed. Join us, Kael said, his alpha command resonating. Help us build something better. Or go back to the council and keep living on your knees. One by one they stepped forward. Winter's rebellion had begun. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. Aria defeated the bond breaker, proved her bond with Kael was unbreakable, and made the decision to stop hiding. But starting a revolution is one thing, building it is another. Today the real work begins. Alliances must be formed. Sanctuaries must be built. And Aria must transform from a wolf fighting for her own freedom into a leader fighting for everyone's. Chapter 11, The Renaissance starts. Now. 6 months after defeating the bond breaker, I stood in front of my greatest creation yet. The sanctuary wasn't just a building, it was a statement. A massive complex built entirely of ice that never melted, with training grounds, living quarters, and gathering spaces designed to house and protect gifted wolves from across the territories. It rose from the heart of Frostpine land like a crystal palace, beautiful and indestructible. "It's magnificent," Aria said, walking through the main hall. "You've created something that will stand for generations." "We created it," I corrected. "Your knowledge, my power, Kael's resources. This belongs to all of us." The sanctuary had been Kael's idea initially, a safe place for gifted wolves fleeing council persecution. But it had grown into something more. A symbol of resistance. A beacon for anyone who'd been told their power was too dangerous, too different, too much. In the 6 months since we'd made our decision, word had spread. Quietly at first, then louder. Gifted wolves were disappearing from their packs, showing up at our borders asking for sanctuary. At first it was 1 or 2 a month. Now it was 5 or 6 a week. We took them all in, trained them, protected them, built a community of wolves who'd been rejected or feared for their gifts. Luna had taken charge of combat training, turning frightened refugees into confident warriors. Finn taught control exercises, helping newly manifested gifts find stability. Kara ran medical operations, using her healing gift to help wolves injured by council enforcers. And Aria and I worked on unlocking everyone's potential, helping them understand that their gifts weren't curses. They were blessings waiting to be embraced. "We're up to 83 gifted wolves now," Luna reported during our morning briefing. "Plus their families. The sanctuary is at capacity." "Then we expand," Kael said simply. "Aria, can you add another wing?" "Easily. Give me 3 days." It had become that simple. What would have been impossible 6 months ago was now routine. My power had grown exponentially with practice and the constant support of the bond. I could create and maintain structures that defied physics, weaponize winter itself, and teach others to embrace their own magic. But growth brought attention. Council scouts were spotted at the western border again, Ridge reported. 3rd time this week. They're watching us. "Let them watch," I said. "They'll see exactly what we want them to see, a thriving community of gifted wolves who aren't afraid anymore." "They might see a target," Kael countered gently. "A concentration of power they can't allow to exist." He wasn't wrong. Every gifted wolf we harbored, every act of defiance, every display of power, it all pushed the council closer to action. We'd been building in relative peace for 6 months, but that peace was fragile. "Then we prepare," I said. "Keep training everyone. Keep building defenses. And keep reaching out to potential allies." The ally situation was complicated. Some alphas supported us quietly, sending resources and information while maintaining official neutrality. Others openly opposed us, fearing council retaliation. And many were undecided, waiting to see which way the political winds would blow. We needed more than quiet support. We needed open alliance. "I've been thinking," Aria said later that afternoon as we worked on expanding the sanctuary. "We need to make a bigger statement. Show wolves everywhere what's possible when gifted wolves unite." "What did you have in mind?" "A gathering. Invite every alpha, every gifted wolf, every wolf who's ever felt suppressed or afraid. Show them the sanctuary. Show them what you can do. Let them see that there's an alternative to council control." "That's dangerous." "The council would see it as open rebellion." "We're already in open rebellion, Little Moon. We're just pretending we're not." She shaped ice with casual expertise, adding delicate details to a wall. "Right now we're a secret, a rumor. But if we want to truly change things, we need to be a movement. Public, proud, impossible to ignore." She was right. Hiding our strength made us safe in the short term but weak in the long term. If we wanted to build something lasting, we needed to claim it openly. "I'll talk to Kael." That night, I found him in our room. We'd stopped pretending we didn't share space months ago, reviewing border reports. "Aria thinks we should host a gathering. Invite alphas, gifted wolves, potential allies. Make a public statement about what we're building." Kael set down the reports. "That's basically declaring war on the council. We're already at war. They just haven't admitted it yet." I sat beside him. "Right now we're reacting to them. Defending. Hiding. I'm tired of that. I want to show everyone what's possible when we stop being afraid. You want to dare the council to come after us publicly. I want to make it impossible for them to come after us without everyone watching. Right now they operate in shadows, hunter squads, secret detentions, mysterious disappearances. But if we're public, visible, celebrated, they can't disappear us without answering to every alpha and pack in the territories. Kael considered this, his strategic mind working through angles. It could work. Political protection through visibility. But it's also incredibly risky. One wrong move, one display of power that looks too threatening, and we give them justification for open assault. Then we don't give them that justification. We show strength, yes, but also control. Community. Purpose. I took his hands. We show them a better way. Not council oppression or rogue wolves causing chaos, but organized, trained, responsible gifted wolves building something positive. You're talking about creating an alternative power structure. The council won't tolerate that. The council doesn't get to decide what we tolerate anymore. I met his eyes. Are you with me? On this? Because if we do this, there's no going back. We're choosing sides publicly. Making ourselves a target. Aria. His smile was warm, proud. I chose sides the night I gave you sanctuary. Everything since then has just been following that choice to its logical conclusion. So yes, I'm with you. Always. 3 weeks later we sent out the invitations. The response was overwhelming. Some alphas refused immediately, citing loyalty to the council. Others accepted with enthusiasm, bringing their gifted pack members and stories of council persecution. Many came simply out of curiosity, to see the winter which everyone was talking about, to witness the sanctuary, to decide for themselves what side of history they wanted to be on. On the night of the gathering, over 200 wolves descended on Frostpine territory. Alphas with their entourages, gifted wolves traveling alone, families seeking refuge, warriors looking for a cause. They came from every corner of the wolf territories, drawn by rumors of a place where magic was celebrated instead of feared. I'd spent days preparing. The sanctuary gleamed, every ice surface polished and perfect. Training demonstrations were scheduled. Aria had prepared her evidence against the council for public presentation. And I'd practiced my speech until every word was precise. Nervous? Kael asked as we stood in the sanctuary's main hall, waiting for the gathering to begin. Terrified. I'm about to stand in front of 200 wolves and basically declare war on the council. What if no one stands with us? What if they all go back to their packs and report everything to the elders? Then we fight alone. But I don't think that's going to happen. He gestured to the crowds gathering outside. Look at them, Aria. They're already standing with us just by being here. The gathering began at moonrise. I walked out to a raised platform Finn had created from shadow-solid darkness, looking out at hundreds of faces, some hopeful, some skeptical, all watching intently. Thank you for coming, I began, my voice carrying across the silent crowd. I know many of you took a risk just by being here. The council doesn't approve of gatherings like this, of gifted wolves uniting, of anything that challenges their control. So the fact that you're standing here tonight? That means something. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. 6 months ago I was nobody. A rejected mate, a minor bloodline wolf who'd been told her entire life she wasn't strong enough, wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy. Then my magic manifested, and suddenly I became interesting to the council. Not valuable, interesting. Like a specimen to study or a weapon to control. I let ice form in my palm, shaped it into a snowflake. They tried to suppress me. Tried to take me into protective custody. Tried to break the bond I'd formed with my chosen partner. And when all of that failed, they tried to make me afraid. Afraid of my own power, afraid of standing out, afraid of being different. The snowflake expanded, growing until it was the size of a shield, intricate and beautiful. But here's what I learned. Fear is their weapon. They want us afraid because fear keeps us compliant. Keeps us hiding. Keeps us believing we're too dangerous to exist freely. I dismissed the snowflake and let my power flow. Snow falling gently across the entire gathering, temperature dropping comfortably, frost forming in beautiful patterns. I'm done being afraid. And I'm offering sanctuary to anyone else who's done too. The council will never allow this, someone shouted from the crowd. The council doesn't get to decide, I replied. We do. Every gifted wolf, every alpha, every pack that's ever felt the weight of their control, we get to choose. Keep living in fear or build something better. Aria stepped forward, holding up a tablet. I have evidence. Centuries of it. Every hunter squad, every illegal detention, every gifted wolf they've eliminated. I've been collecting it since I faked my own death to escape them. And tonight, I'm making it public. She projected the documents onto an ice screen I'd created. Names, dates, incidents. Proof of council corruption spanning generations. The crowd erupted in angry murmurs. This is what they don't want you to see, Aria continued. This is why they operate in shadows. Because if you knew the full scope of what they've done, you'd never accept their authority again. So what are you proposing? An alpha asked, one I recognized as neutral, watching carefully. Open rebellion? That's suicide. Not rebellion. Renaissance. I let the word hang in the air. A rebirth of magic in the wolf community. Sanctuary for gifted wolves. Training instead of suppression. Community instead of fear. We're not trying to destroy the council, we're offering an alternative to it. And when they come to destroy you, then we defend ourselves. Together. Kael stepped forward, his alpha authority unmistakable. The council's strength comes from isolated packs being afraid to stand together. But if we unite, gifted wolves, supportive alphas, everyone who's tired of living under their thumb, we're stronger than they are. You're asking us to risk everything, another alpha said. I'm asking you to choose, I corrected. Keep living small, keep hiding your gifted pack members, keep pretending the council has your best interests at heart. Or stand with us. Help us build sanctuaries like this across the territories. Protect gifted wolves instead of abandoning them. Choose freedom over fear. Silence fell over the gathering. This was the moment, either they'd stand with us or they'd go back to their packs and everything would continue as it had been. A young alpha stepped forward, one I didn't recognize. I have a gifted daughter. 7 years old, can manipulate plants. I've been hiding her ability for 2 years, terrified the council would take her. If you're offering sanctuary, protection, training, I'm in. My pack stands with you. Another alpha joined him. I've lost 3 pack members to council hunter squads. 3 wolves whose only crime was being too powerful. I'm done letting that happen. Silvercrest pack stands with you. One by one they came forward. Small packs and large. Alphas bringing their gifted wolves. Solo wolves pledging support. Within an hour, 30 packs had publicly allied with us. Within 2 hours, 50. Not everyone joined. Some alphas left immediately, probably to report back to the council. Others stayed undecided, watching, waiting to see if we'd survive the inevitable retaliation. But by the time the moon set and dawn began to break, we had allies. Real, committed, willing to fight allies. You did it, Luna said, grinning wildly as the last of the visiting wolves settled into temporary housing. You started a revolution. We started a renaissance, I corrected. Revolution destroys. Renaissance rebuilds. Over the next week, the implications of the gathering became clear. Gifted wolves flooded to the sanctuary, not dozens but hundreds. Packs that had allied with us sent representatives and resources. The movement we'd started was growing faster than we could manage. I expanded the sanctuary 3 times, creating entire wings for different types of gifts. Aria established a council of elders, gifted wolves with decades of experience, to help with training and governance. Kael coordinated with allied alphas, building supply lines and defense networks. And through it all I kept training. Kept growing stronger. Because I knew the council's response was coming. It came 4 weeks after the gathering. Not with enforcers or weapons this time. Not with direct assault. They came with politics. A formal decree signed by every council elder, delivered to every pack in the territories. The sanctuary was declared an illegal settlement. Aria Winters was wanted for questioning regarding conspiracy against council authority. Any pack harboring gifted wolves without council approval would face sanctions, including potential territory seizure. They're trying to isolate us economically and politically, Kael said, reading the decree. Cut off our supply lines, make our allies too afraid to help, starve us out. Will it work? I asked. Against a normal pack? Yes, but we're not normal. We have 50 allied packs, resources they don't know about, and more gifted wolves than they can handle. He set down the decree. They're pushing us to respond. Trying to make us either back down or escalate to violence. Then we do neither. We respond with strength they can't counter. Not military strength but moral strength. An idea was forming. What if we invited them here? To the sanctuary? Let them see what we've built, who we're protecting, what their policies are really fighting against. You want to negotiate? I want to show them we're not the threat they think we are. That we're not trying to destroy anything, just build something better. I looked at the decree. And if they refuse to see that, if they insist on treating us as enemies, then everyone will see who's really being unreasonable. The invitation was formal, respectful, and public. I sent it to every council elder, every alpha, every wolf who'd been following the growing conflict between the sanctuary and the council. You've declared us illegal. You've called me a threat. You've made claims about the danger we represent. So I'm inviting you to come see for yourselves. Visit the sanctuary. Meet the wolves we're protecting. See the training we provide, the community we've built, the future we're creating. Then judge us based on truth instead of fear. If you refuse, everyone will know you're afraid of the light we're shining on your dark practices. Aria Winters, Winter Witch of Frost Pine. The response came within hours. Not from Elder Mortimer, from someone higher. Council Chairman herself. We accept your invitation. 3 days. We'll bring a delegation to assess your facility and determine appropriate action. Be prepared for judgment, Miss Winters. That's not an assessment, Luna said, reading the message. That's a threat. Good, I said, frost forming at my fingertips. Let them come. Let them see what we've built. And let them try to destroy it in front of everyone watching. 3 days to prepare. 3 days to make the sanctuary perfect. 3 days to train our gifted wolves to demonstrate control and purpose. 3 days until the council arrived and we either won our freedom or lost everything. I stood on the sanctuary's highest tower that night, looking out over the complex we'd built. Training grounds filled with gifted wolves learning to embrace their power. Living quarters housing families that had fled persecution. Gardens where plant manipulators created impossible beauty. A community thriving where the council said only chaos could exist. Kael found me there, his arms coming around me from behind. Through our bond, I felt his determination mixing with mine. Whatever happens in 3 days, I said quietly, this was worth it. Building this. Helping these wolves. Showing them they don't have to be afraid. Nothing's going to happen in 3 days except the council realizing they've already lost, Kael said confidently. They can't destroy this. Not without destroying any remaining credibility they have. I hope you're right. I am. Because you're not just a winter witch anymore, Aria. You're a leader. A symbol. The beginning of something the council can't suppress. You turn me to face him. They're afraid of you. Of what you represent. And that fear is going to be their downfall. I kissed him, drawing strength from our bond, from his unwavering support, from the love we built through choice. 3 days. 3 days until the council came. 3 days until winter showed them what Renaissance really meant. Chapter 12. You've built something impressive, Council Chairman Sterling admitted, walking through the sanctuary's halls. But impressive doesn't mean legal. Doesn't mean safe. This concentration of power is exactly what you feared all along, I interrupted. Not because we're dangerous. Because we're free. Because we prove that gifted wolves don't need council control to thrive. She turned to face me and I saw calculation in her eyes. You're forcing us to choose between acknowledging your legitimacy or destroying you publicly. That's a dangerous game, Miss Winters. I'm not playing games. Ice crystallized in the air around us, beautiful and controlled. I'm showing you the future. And you get to decide if you're part of it or in the way of it. Welcome back to Frost and Fury. The sanctuary is thriving, the movement is growing, and the council is coming to judge what Aria has built. Today, everything culminates. Months of training, alliance building, and choosing freedom over fear. Will the council accept the Renaissance Aria has created? Or will they try one final time to destroy what they can't control? Chapter 12, Winter's Crown starts now. The council arrived exactly at noon with a delegation of 20 elders, enforcers, political observers, and council chairman Sterling herself. She was a tall woman with iron-gray hair and eyes that assessed everything like a battlefield. I met them at the sanctuary gates with Kael, Ilara, and representatives from our allied packs. Behind us, the entire community watched, hundreds of gifted wolves and their families, all silent, all waiting to see what would happen. Chairman Sterling, I greeted formally. Welcome to the sanctuary. Miss Winters. Her gaze swept across the ice palace, the training grounds, the gathered wolves. Impressive construction. How long did this take to build? 6 months for the main structure. We've been expanding ever since. And you maintain it all personally? With your ice magic. With help from other gifted wolves. It's a collaborative effort, which is kind of the point. I gestured toward the entrance. Would you like a tour? See what we've actually built before you pass judgment. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Show me. We walked through the sanctuary slowly, deliberately. I showed her everything. The training halls where newly manifested gifts learned control, the living quarters housing refugee families, the medical wing where Kara's healing abilities saved lives the council would have written off. Every space, every program, Every success story. Gifted wolves demonstrated their abilities with precision and purpose. A fire manipulator created controlled flames that danced without burning. A shadow walker moved through darkness with grace instead of fear. A young plant which made flowers bloom in ice-cold conditions. Control, I emphasized repeatedly. Training. Community support. Everything the council claims gifted wolves can't achieve without suppression. We're doing it through acceptance. Chairman Sterling took notes, asked questions, observed closely. Her expression remained neutral, but I could see her processing, calculating, reassessing. We reached the main training ground where Luna was running combat drills. 20 gifted wolves moved in synchronized formations, their abilities complementing each other. Ice providing cover while fire provided offense, shadows creating confusion while earth manipulators controlled terrain. Tactical training, Chairman Sterling observed. You're building an army. We're building defenders, Kael corrected. Wolves who can protect themselves and each other. After centuries of council hunter squads attacking gifted wolves, can you blame us for wanting to fight back? The hunter squads serve a purpose. Terrorizing innocent wolves? Alara interrupted sharply. I have documentation of 347 gifted wolves killed by your hunters over the last century. Their only crime was being powerful. Is that the purpose you're defending? Chairman Sterling's jaw tightened. Those were necessary interventions in cases where gifted wolves posed clear threats. 7-year-old children? I pulled up records on a tablet. Teenagers barely into their first manifestation? Elders who'd been hiding peacefully for decades? These are your threats. Silence. She couldn't defend it and we all knew it. Come on, I said, softening my tone. There's more to see. The education wing showcased gifted children learning alongside non-gifted cubs. The community hall showed families eating together, laughing, living normal lives despite their extraordinary abilities. The memorial garden honored wolves killed by council hunters. Names carved in ice, each one representing a life lost to fear and suppression. Chairman Sterling stopped at the memorial, reading name after name. You're trying to make us feel guilty. I'm showing you the cost of your policies. These wolves didn't have to die. They weren't threats, they were just different. And your council killed them for it. I stood beside her, looking at the memorial. We built this place so no more names get added. So gifted wolves can live without fear. That's all we want. What you want is to undermine council authority. What we want is freedom. The fact that those two things conflict says more about the council than it does about us. She turned to face me fully. You're very eloquent for someone so young. Very strategic. It almost makes me forget you created a blizzard that incapacitated an entire enforcement team. That you broke a bond-breaker device that took centuries to perfect. That you have enough power to level entire territories if you chose to use it. But I don't choose to use it that way. That's the whole point. I let snow fall gently around us, beautiful, controlled, harmless. I could be the threat you fear. But I'm choosing to be something else. A teacher. A protector. A leader for wolves who need sanctuary. The question isn't whether I'm dangerous. It's whether you're willing to see past the danger to what I'm actually doing. We completed the tour in silence, Chairman Sterling processing everything she'd seen. When we returned to the main hall, she gestured for her delegation to confer privately. They spoke in low voices for nearly an hour while we waited. Finally, she approached. I need to speak with you privately. Just you, Miss Winters. Kael immediately objected. Anything you have to say to Aria can be said in front of. It's okay, I said, touching his arm. Through our bond, I felt his protective fury, but also his trust in my judgment. I'll be fine. Chairman Sterling and I walked to a private balcony overlooking the sanctuary grounds. Below, gifted wolves continued their routines. Training, studying, living. Proof that everything I'd claimed was real. You've put me in an impossible position, she said finally. If I endorse what you've built, I'm admitting the council has been wrong for centuries. That our policies have caused more harm than good. That suppression was never necessary. Yes, I said simply. But if I condemn it, if I try to shut this down, I make you a martyr. I prove every accusation you've made about council corruption. And I turn 50 allied packs against us in open rebellion. Also yes. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You've played this brilliantly. Built something undeniably good, made it public enough that destroying it would cost us everything, and forced us to either accept it or expose our true nature. I learned from the best. You've been playing political games for centuries. I just applied those lessons to my situation. I met her eyes. But here's what I'll offer. cooperation instead of competition. The sanctuary doesn't have to undermine council authority, it can complement it. We handle gifted wolves, provide training and sanctuary. You handle everything else. Separate jurisdictions, mutual respect. You want us to legitimize you. I want you to acknowledge reality. Gifted wolves exist. We're not going away. And suppressing us causes more problems than it solves. So work with us instead of against us. Make the council relevant instead of obsolete. She was quiet for a long time watching the sanctuary. If I agree to this, and I'm not saying I am, what guarantees do I have that you won't use this power base to challenge council authority? My word. Which I know isn't worth much to you. But also practicality. I don't want to rule wolf territories. I want to protect gifted wolves. Those are different goals. You can keep your political power. Just stop using it to hunt us. And the evidence Alara threatened to release? Stays sealed as long as the hunting stops. The moment another gifted wolf dies to a council hunter squad, everything goes public. Instantly. Everywhere. I let ice form in my palm. But if you work with us, that evidence becomes irrelevant. Ancient history from a time before the council evolved. Chairman Sterling smiled slightly. You're offering us a face-saving way out. Claim we've evolved our policies rather than admitting we were wrong all along. I'm offering survival. For both of us. Because the alternative is war and nobody wins that. She extended her hand. I'll need to bring this to the full council. But provisionally, pending their approval, I'm willing to recognize the sanctuary as an independent operation under Frostpine Pact protection. You train and harbor gifted wolves. We stop hunting them. And we see if coexistence is actually possible. I shook her hand, feeling the weight of the moment. This wasn't total victory, the council could still renege, still cause problems. But it was recognition. Legitimacy. A chance to build something lasting. One more thing, she said as we walked back inside. The council will want oversight. Regular reports, inspections, proof that you're actually training wolves instead of building an army. Agreed. Transparency in exchange for autonomy. We have nothing to hide. The announcement was made publicly, with all allied pacts and sanctuary residents watching. Chairman Sterling's words were careful, political, designed to make the council look proactive rather than reactive. But the message was clear. The sanctuary was recognized. Gifted wolves had won their freedom. The celebration that night was incredible. Wolves who'd been hiding their entire lives could finally breathe freely. Children demonstrated their gifts without fear. Allied alphas pledged continued support. The movement we'd started had achieved something real, something lasting. I found Kael on the sanctuary's highest tower, our spot now for important moments. You did it, he said, pulling me close. You actually did it. Changed council policy, won legitimacy, saved countless lives. We did it. None of this would have been possible without you. Without our bond. Without this pack. I looked out at the celebration below. I keep thinking about that night 6 months ago when Marcus rejected me. How broken I was. How certain I was that my life was over. And now I realize that was when my life actually began. The rejection broke me open so something stronger could grow. The ice magic manifested because I needed it. Everything that felt like loss was actually preparation for this. I turned to face him. I don't regret any of it. Not Marcus, not the pain, not the struggle. Because it led me here. To you. To this. I love you, Kael said softly. Completely. Unconditionally. Forever. I love you too. My chosen mate. My alpha. My partner in building impossible things. We kissed as snow fell around us, not wild or chaotic but joyful. Celebratory. My magic responding to pure happiness for the first time in months. Below, I heard Luna's voice shouting, "They're kissing on the tower again. Everyone drink." I laughed against Kael's lips. We have the nosiest pack in existence. We have the best pack in existence, he corrected. And they're celebrating their winter witch and her revolution. Renaissance, I corrected. Revolutions destroy. We rebuilt. 6 months later. The sanctuary had tripled in size. What started as a refuge for 83 wolves now housed over 400, with more arriving weekly. We'd established satellite sanctuaries in allied territories, creating a network of safe havens for gifted wolves across the continent. The council kept their word, mostly. Inspections happened quarterly, tensions remained high, but the hunting had stopped. Gifted wolves could register voluntarily, receive training, and live openly without fear of elimination. It wasn't perfect. Some council elders still opposed us. Some packs refused to accept gifted wolves. Old prejudices died hard. But it was progress. Real, measurable, lasting progress. I stood in the training circle, the original one in Frostpine territory where this had all begun, teaching a class of newly manifested ice witches. 5 young wolves, all struggling with control, all looking at me like I had all the answers. Ice responds to emotion, I explained, demonstrating. But emotion doesn't have to control ice. Watch. I created a blizzard, powerful, intense, enough to bury the entire training circle. Then I pulled it back, shaped it, transformed it into a beautiful sculpture of 5 wolves running together. The young witches gasped. Power without control is chaos. Control without purpose is weakness. But power, control, and purpose together. I dismissed the sculpture and let gentle snow fall around us. That's mastery. That's what we're building here. Not just strength but wisdom. Not just magic but meaning. After class I found Marcus waiting at the border. We'd maintained cordial relations with Silver Moon, necessary for political stability, but seeing him still felt strange. Not painful anymore, just odd. Like looking at someone from a past life. Aria. Thank you for seeing me. What can I do for you, Marcus? Professional. Polite. Nothing more. I wanted to apologize. Again. Properly this time. He looked at the sanctuary in the distance. I've been watching what you've built. What you've become. And I realize now that rejecting you wasn't just my worst mistake, it was the Council's loss. The wolf world's loss. You're changing everything and I had a chance to be part of that. I chose politics instead. You did, I agreed. But you know what? I'm glad. Because if you'd accepted me I would have stayed small. Would have tried to fit into the Luna role you wanted instead of becoming who I was meant to be. Your rejection freed me. So thank you. He flinched. I deserved that. It wasn't an insult. I genuinely mean it, thank you. You breaking my heart broke me open for something better. I gestured to the sanctuary. This exists because you rejected me. Every wolf we've saved, every life we've changed, that's all built on the foundation of you calling me weak and unworthy. So really you helped. I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse. It should make you feel aware. Aware that your choices have consequences. That the things you say to people matter. That someone you dismissed as worthless might be the most important person in the room, you just couldn't see it. I softened slightly. I don't hate you, Marcus. I don't think about you much at all anymore. But I hope you learn something from this. I hope the next person you love, you choose to believe in them instead of dismissing them. I will. I have. He started to leave then turned back. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Of what you've become. Even though I have no right to be. You don't. But I appreciate it anyway. After he left, I returned to the sanctuary and found Kael in our private quarters. Actual quarters now, not just his office or my room, but a space we'd built together. Ice and stone, cold and warmth, 2 elements that shouldn't work but somehow created something beautiful. Marcus came by, I said, settling into his arms on our bed. I know. I felt your emotions through the bond. Want to talk about it? Not really. It's just strange. Looking at someone who used to be everything and feeling nothing. Not anger, not longing, just indifference. That's called healing. Growth. Becoming someone new. I like who I've become. I like us. I like this life we've built. I kissed him slowly. Thank you for choosing me. Every day. Even when it's hard, even when the council pushes back, even when I'm difficult or overwhelmed or frozen everything in a 10-mile radius by accident. That happened once. And it was hilarious. Luna slipped and fell 3 times trying to get inside. I laughed, the sound free and genuine. We're really doing this, aren't we? Building a future together. Changing the world. Making impossible things possible. We really are. His hand found mine, our bond humming contentedly between us. And we're just getting started. There are dozens of sanctuaries to build, hundreds of gifted wolves to train, an entire system to reform. This is going to take decades. Good. I've always wanted a project. I snuggled closer. Though maybe we could take a vacation first? Somewhere cold. Alaska. Antarctica. Let me commune with natural winter for a while. Anywhere you want to go. Just say the word. Outside, snow began to fall. Real snow this time, mixed with my magic, indistinguishable and perfect. The sanctuary glowed in the darkness, hundreds of windows lit, hundreds of lives protected. A testament to what was possible when wolves stopped hiding and started building. I'd come so far from that broken girl crying by a stream. From the weak wolf rejected for her bloodline. from the frightened refugee who didn't understand the ice spreading from her hands. Now I was a winter witch in full power. A leader. A teacher. A partner to an alpha who chose me freely. I was everything Marcus said I'd never be. And I'd done it by choosing myself first. The journey hadn't been easy. The rejection hurt. The training was brutal. The battles with the council nearly broke me. But every hardship had shaped me, strengthened me, prepared me for exactly this moment. Standing in the life I'd built, surrounded by wolves I'd saved, partnered with a man I loved deeply, this was everything I'd ever wanted and nothing I'd ever imagined. Winter had come into its own. And it would never retreat again. Epilogue 2 years later. The council hall was packed for the historic vote. 2 years of coexistence between the sanctuary network and traditional pack structures had proven successful enough that Chairman Sterling was proposing permanent policy changes. Legal protection for gifted wolves. Official recognition of sanctuaries. And most significantly, my appointment to the council itself as the gifted affairs representative. This is unprecedented, Elder Mortimer argued. He'd never forgiven me for defeating him repeatedly. Giving a seat to someone who openly defied council authority. Someone who changed wolf society for the better, Chairman Sterling interrupted. Miss Winters has demonstrated exactly the kind of leadership and wisdom the council needs. Her sanctuaries have prevented conflicts, provided training and protected vulnerable wolves. She's earned this position. The vote wasn't unanimous, it never would be. But it was decisive. By a margin of 8-3, I became the first gifted wolf in centuries to hold an official council position. Kael, watching from the observation gallery, sent love and pride through our bond. We'd made it officially 6 months ago, not because we needed to but because we wanted to celebrate what we'd built. The ceremony had been beautiful, mixing traditional pack customs with moon-witch rituals Alara had taught me. After the vote, I stood before the council in formal whites, accepting the position with all the weight it carried. I know many of you opposed this, I said, meeting Elder Mortimer's gaze directly. I know my presence here makes you uncomfortable. That's okay. My job isn't to make you comfortable. It's to ensure gifted wolves finally have a voice in the policies that govern them. To make sure no more names get added to memorial gardens. To transform fear into understanding. I let snow fall gently in the council chamber, a reminder of what I was, what I represented, what they'd finally accepted. Winter doesn't ask permission to exist. It simply is. Beautiful, powerful, essential. That's what gifted wolves are. And it's time the council stopped treating us like threats and started treating us like the assets we've always been. The applause was hesitant from some, enthusiastic from others. But it happened. Acknowledgement. Acceptance. Change. That night, back at the sanctuary, I found Alara in the memorial garden adding new engravings. Not names of the dead this time, names of the saved. Every wolf who'd found sanctuary received training, lived freely because of what we'd built. Proud of you, little moon, she said softly. You've done what I dreamed of but never managed. Changed the system from within while building alternatives outside it. I had good teachers. And better allies. I touched the snowflake pendant she'd given me years ago, the one I still wore every day. This is just the beginning, isn't it? There's so much more to do. Always. But that's the beautiful thing about Renaissance, it doesn't end. It keeps growing, evolving, improving. She smiled. You've planted something that will outlive all of us. That's legacy, Aria. Kael found us there, wrapping his arms around me from behind. Through our bond, I felt his exhaustion and satisfaction mixing. We'd both been working too hard, pushing too much. But it was worth it. Ready to go home? He asked. Where's home? Wherever we are together. Here, the Ice Palace, the Council Hall, anywhere. As long as we're together, we're home. I leaned back into him, watching snow fall over the memorial garden. Names of the lost carved beside names of the saved, proof that everything could change when wolves stopped accepting fear as inevitable. I love you, I whispered. I love you too. My winter witch. My mate. My impossible, incredible, revolutionary partner. We stood there as night settled over the sanctuary, snow falling gently, the future spreading out before us bright and cold and full of possibility. I'd been rejected for being weak. I'd been hunted for being powerful. I'd been feared for being different. And now I was a council member, a leader, a symbol of what wolves could become when they stopped hiding and started thriving. The journey from broken to powerful, from rejected to chosen, from afraid to free, it hadn't been easy. But every step had been worth it. Winter had found its crown. And the reign of Renaissance had only just begun. The Indie. Thank you for journeying with Aria from rejection to revolution, from heartbreak to healing, from ice awakening to winter's crown. Her story proves that sometimes the worst thing that happens to us is actually the beginning of our greatest transformation. May you find your own power, choose your own path, and never apologize for the magic that makes you different. The end.